Chapter 683. Slave Imprint. You have a way to control the life and death of a quasi-emperor? Ning Fan asked with a frown. Of course. I'm the reincarnation of Seetsong. All of Seetsong's descendants are my servants. I can decide their life and death with just a word. I can even control their every action. Humph. I'm powerful, aren't I? Little Ming Ke said proudly. Are you serious? Your servant is right next to me. Ning Fan was still in disbelief. Next to you? All right. If Brother Biscuit doesn't believe me, I'll demonstrate it to you. Next, I'll make that servant roll on the ground. Roll on the ground. Ming Ke gave Tai Wu an order from the other side of the Yuanya world. Her voice was transmitted. Only Ning Fan could hear it. Tai Wu could not hear it. However, Tai Wu could not help but roll on the sea of clouds in an instant. His old face was filled with helplessness. How could he not know that it was his little ancestor who was torturing him? A dignified quasi-emperor was rolling on the sea of clouds in front of Ning Fan. Really? Really? Sigh, Ning Fan was speechless. He believed Ming Ke's words. If a quasi-emperor really harbors evil intentions towards Ming Ke, he could use other methods to snatch her away. There was no need for him to lower himself and roll on the ground. Even a harmonious spirit realm cultivator would not do such a humiliating thing, let alone the great elder of the Bright Sparrow clan. He stroked the Yuanyao jade and released Ming Quebec. Then, he asked her to rescind the order to stop Tai Wu from embarrassing himself. After all, he had his dignity. He transmitted his voice to everyone in the Yuanya world, telling them that the danger had passed, which made Si Wuxie and the others feel slightly relieved. Ming Ke stood beside Ning Fan and looked at Tai Wu in confusion. This old man who is rolling on the ground is my demon slave. He looks so ugly. Stop. After Ming Ke gave the order, Tai Wu finally stopped rolling on the ground. He stood up with a bitter smile and looked at Ning Fan with shame. When his eyes fell on Ming Ke, they were filled with respect. Without saying anything, he cupped his fists and bowed. Tai Gu greets my king. Ming Ke ignored Tai Wu. She turned to look at Ning Fan and bit her lips. Her eyes were filled with heartache. Ning Fan's injuries are very, very serious. At this moment, it was as if it was strenuous for him to speak another word, but he still forced himself to stand. However, he wasn't standing stably. His body was trembling uncontrollably, as if he would fall off the cloud at any moment. Ming Ke carefully supported Ning Fan. Her eyes suddenly flashed with monstrous killing intent. She stared at Tai Wu with extreme dignity. You hurt him. Your Majesty, please allow me to report. His injuries were not caused by me, but by immortal burial tribe's progenitor of ancient song. He has already been killed by me. Tai Wu's forehead was drenched in sweat as he quickly explained. It's not him. He's the one who saved us. Ning Fan lifted his hand with great difficulty and patted Ming Ke's head. Then, he shook his head with a smile. After severing his 7 emotions, every time he smiled, it was not from his heart. In theory, those who had lost their 7 emotions should be expressionless. However, who said that one couldn't smile if they were unhappy, and that one couldn't cry if they were not sad? But who made the rule that one couldn't feel sorrow if they lost their 7 emotions? Can't feel anger. His heart might not be able to feel it, but how could he not feel it in the depths of his soul? Oh. So you're a good old man who saved my brother Biscuit. Ming Ke revealed a smile and praised Tai Wu. Not bad. Even though you're a little ugly, you're still useful. Tai Wu's forehead was filled with black lines. He was once one of the handsome youths on the Mingluan demon continent when he was young. Even though he was old now, he still had white hair and a youthful complexion. In Ming Ke's eyes, he was actually very ugly. Fine. If he's ugly, then so be it. He would not dare to talk back to his master. Ning Fan's eyes suddenly turned blood red. The devil sense was acting up again. His eyes dimmed and his expression was filled with pain. He was already on the verge of losing control. Ming Ke was so anxious that she burst into tears. She had never seen Ning Fan show such a painful expression. What's wrong with him? What's wrong with him, my king? Don't panic. This young man is just being devoured by the devil sense. It's not a problem. It's not a problem. He won't die for at least 100 years. Tai Wu smiled apologetically. His words accidentally ignited the flames of anger in Ming Ke's heart. It's not a problem. It's not a problem. Brother Biscuit is about to die and you still say it's not a problem. How dare you? My brother Biscuit is already in such a state and you still dare to laugh. My king, please calm down. Tai Wu was shocked. He quickly stopped smiling and said with a tearful face. Actually, I have a way to help him suppress the devil sense temporarily. It won't be a problem for him to live for 1,000 years, no. I won't allow him to die. Not even 1,000 years. Can you save him? If you can, then save him immediately. I can only help him seal the devil sense for 1,000 years at most. The devil sense is born in the heart and it must be destroyed in the heart. In the end, he still has to rely on himself to dissolve the devil sense. Besides, sealing the devil sense requires the power of my clan's immemorial dark wheel. According to the rules of my clan, those who aren't members of my clan can't use the power of the dark will to save others. Tai Wu said with a bitter smile. Who said he isn't a member of my clan? I'm the king and he's the queen. Ming Ke was so anxious that her speech became somewhat incoherent. Ning Fan smiled bitterly. He was a good man but he actually became the queen of Ming Ke. He patted her head, hinting her to stop yelling at Tai Wu. He gently removed his arm from Ming Ke's embrace and cupped his fists at Tai Wu. Because of all the reasons, although Ming Ke is the reincarnation of a noble princess, she still has a child's heart. I hope Senior can forgive her for offending you. Hee hee. She is the reincarnation of my king. How would I dare to blame her? I'm the king's servant. All punishments and beatings are natural to me. Even if I have to sacrifice my life for the king, I'm willing to do so. However, I've seen some changes in the king's body and have some speculations. It seems like a junior has schemed against my king. Little friend, do you know who did it? Tai Wu's eyes flashed with coldness. How could he not see that Ming Ke was the combination of Seed Sung and the Pill Devil? Moreover, this combination was man-made. With his eyesight, he could vaguely tell that the one who schemed against Ming Ke was a junior at the True Crossing Realm. Humph. A mere True Crossing Realm cultivator dared to scheme against the king of the immemorial Dark Sparrow. He was simply courting death. We'll talk about this later. Senior, can you help me seal the devil sense? Ning Fan asked politely. Of course. How would I dare to disobey my king's order? Tai Wu rolled up his sleeves and everyone landed on the ground. Little friend, please close your eyes and try your best to keep the devil sense in your heart. I will use the power of my clan's dark will to help you seal the devil sense for 1,000 years. Within 1,000 years, you can slowly remove the devil sense. With your 6th heavenly layer void fragmentation realm cultivation base, you will be able to remove the devil sense in 1 to 200 years at most. As soon as Tai Wu finished speaking, he pointed a finger at Ning Fan's chest and activated the power of the dark will to help Ning Fan seal the devil sense. Ning Fan closed his eyes and used the power of the dark wheel in his body to gather the devil sense. Ming Ke, on the other hand, looked at the two of them nervously and threatened Tai Wu from time to time. Smelly old man, if you can't seal Brother Biscuit's devil sense, I'll make you roll around here for the rest of your life. Don't worry, my king. I will certainly do my best to save the queen whom my king has taken a fancy to. Tai Wu chuckled. Ming Ke nodded her head in satisfaction at his words but Ning Fan's face turned pale. Queen again, time passed by bit by bit. The devil sense in Ning Fan's body gradually gathered in his heart and was sealed by the power of the dark wheel. The power of the dark will could last for 1,000 years. Ning Fan only needed to remove the devil sense one by one within 1,000 years. Little friend, from today onwards, you can't use that sword technique anymore. If you allow the devil sense to erupt again, you might not necessarily be able to meet an expert like me to help you. Tai Wu reminded him with a solemn look. He had been following Ning Fan from the beginning until now. He naturally saw how Ning Fan disarmed himself and risked his life to kill his enemies. From today onwards, Ning Fan must give up on using the weapon disarming style until the day when his cultivation base was so high that he no longer feared the devil sense. I can't use the weapon disarming style anymore, huh? Ning Fan smiled bitterly. If it wasn't for the fact that he had no other choice, why would he use the weapon disarming style to risk his life? Even though the devil sense had been suppressed, Ning Fan's body was still very weak. Tai Wu took out a 9th revolution healing pill and gave it to Ning Fan. Then, he took out many spiritual herbs that were hundreds of thousands of years old and fed them to Ming Quebec. After that, he transformed into a 1,000,000 zhang large immemorial dark sparrow which carried Ning Fan and Ming Ke to the first floor. Before leaving, Ning Fan kept the ancient Zhang corpse that had turned into black ice. No matter what, it was still the corpse of a life immortal realm expert. If Nye Li ate it, Nye Li's cultivation would probably increase by quite a bit. Wow! Old man, you fly really fast. Seeing that Ning Fan was temporarily out of danger, Ming Ke felt relieved. While gnawing on the rare spiritual herbs, she looked at the rapidly changing scenery around her. In just 10 breaths' time, they had already flown out of the ancient heavenly court from the 2nd floor. Tai Wu's speed was much faster than Ning Fan's. After returning to the upper level of the broken domain, Tai Wu returned to his human form and helped Ning Fan digest the power of the pills to heal his injuries. Ning Fan sat cross-legged on the ground. While healing his injuries, he told Tai Wu about the sect master of the pills sect plotting against Ming Quebec. When he heard that Chang Shan, the rogue immortal who attacked Ming Ke, was a member of the pills sect, Tai Wu was enraged. When he heard that the sect master of the pills sect was trying to refine his princess into a pill, his eyes flashed with cold light. The pills sect of the Eastern Heaven immortal world. If it wasn't for the fact that my Dark Sparrow clan is the leader of the demon race and is the public enemy of the 4 heavens, I would certainly go to the Eastern Heaven and annihilate that pill sect. When Ming Ke heard that she had been repeatedly plotted against by someone, she pouted her small mouth which was full of spiritual herbs. She was so shocked that she could not close her mouth. What? I was actually plotted against by someone and I actually didn't know about it. Ning Fan looked at little Ming Ke speechlessly and thought to himself. You are just a little foodie. It would be strange if you knew about it. After thinking for a while, he took out a compass from his storage pouch. That compass was found in Chang Shan's storage pouch. This compass seems to be made by the sect master of the pill sect. It seems like it can locate Ming Ke's location. Ning Fan passed the compass to Tai Wu. The killing intent in Tai Wu's eyes intensified as he held the compass. Without saying much, he crushed the compass and activated his demon power. The compass reformed. After it was reformed, the function of the compass had changed. It could locate the whereabouts of the sect master of the pill sect. As long as you hold this compass, you will be able to locate the sect master of the pill sect. Little friend, do you want this compass? What he wanted was to accept the mission to avenge Ming Ke and use the power of the compass to seek revenge for the sect master of the pill sect. After all, Tai Wu's identity was special. If he sneaks into the Eastern Heaven, he would probably be killed by the immortal emperors in the Eastern Heaven before he can reach the pill sect. Ning Fan was probably the only one who could take revenge. If he doesn't want it, Tai Wu would not force Ning Fan. I want it. However, the current me is no match for the sect master of the pill sect. I'm afraid I can only use this compass in the future. Ning Fan did not say much. He took the compass and kept it. Tai Wu suddenly said. I want to bring the king back to the Bright Sparrow clan. What do you think? Without waiting for Ning Fan to answer, Ming Ke glared at Tai Wu. TSK, I don't want to go back. Unless Brother Biscuit also goes. Ming Ke looked at Ning Fan hopefully. However, Ning Fan shook his head with a smile. I don't plan to go to the demon spirit land for the time being. Then I won't go either. Smelly old man, there's nothing else for you to do here. You can go back now. Bright Sparrow waved her hand as though she was dismissing Tai Wu. Tai Wu smiled bitterly. He looked at Ning Fan, signaling him to speak up for him. Ning Fan's eyes darkened. He remained silent. After a long while, he asked Tai Wu. Is the current Dark Sparrow clan under the control of Seedsang's lineage? Yes. Tai Wu answered honestly. How many people does Seedsang have? A third of the entire clan. 90% of the experts above the perfected immortal realm come from Seedsang's bloodline. Is that so? Can Bright Sparrow control their life and death with a single thought? Ning Fan asked the question that concerned him the most. Of course. If King returns, no one in the entire clan will dare to harm King in the slightest. Tai Wu guaranteed. He could already tell that Ning Fan was somewhat tempted. He wanted Ming Ke to return to the immemorial Dark Sparrow clan. Ning Fan could not help but be tempted. His heart was filled with worries. The sect leader of the Pill faction was still a ticking time bomb that was waiting for Ming Quebec. Ning Fan could not guarantee that he could protect Ming Ke every time someone from the Pill sect comes. Moreover, if Ning Fan ascends to the immortal world, he probably would not be able to bring Ming Ke along with him. He had given the issue of ascension a lot of thought. He did not plan to go to the ancient devil's abyss, nor did he plan to go to the land of demon spirits. He would probably go to one of the four heavens. He possessed the ancestral blood of Fu Li and Mo Luo. His current cultivation base was still insufficient. If he goes to a place where demons and devils roam freely, it would be hard to guarantee that he would not get into trouble because of the ancestral blood. In comparison, going to the four heavens was slightly safer. Of course, the Western Heaven immortal world was not a consideration. That place was the grave of the ancient devil cultivators. If he goes to the four heavens, how could he bring Ming Ke along? Ming Ke was the immemorial Dark Sparrow. She was the public enemy of the four heavens. If she goes there, would she be killed by an immortal emperor? If he ascends by himself but leaves Ming Ke in the lower world, how could he feel at ease? Little K-Air, do you really not want to go back to the Dark Sparrow clan and have a look? Ning Fan smiled and stroked Ming Ke's little head. It was his first time using such an intimate form of address. Ming Ke's little face immediately turned red. Her heart thumped wildly. She was Ming Ke and also Seedsang. To be honest, she indeed wanted to go back to the Dark Sparrow clan and have a look. She nodded and thought for a while. Then, she looked at Ning Fan and shook her head reluctantly. She was reluctant to leave Brother Biscuit. Don't you like to eat pill biscuits? I only know how to make 6th Revolution pill biscuits. In the Dark Sparrow clan, they probably have a lot of 9 Revolution pill biscuits too. Don't you want to eat them? It's pill biscuits, alright? You're so stupid. You can't get it right even once. Ming Ke pouted her lips. When she thought that there were 9 Revolution pills in the Dark Sparrow clan that she could eat, her saliva dripped down uncontrollably. After eating 8 or 9 Revolution pills, she would definitely become stronger very quickly. Unimaginably strong. Humph. Who asked her physique to be so heaven-defying? However, Ming Ke looked at Ning Fan reluctantly. She swallowed her saliva and shook her head. The biscuits they make are not as good as the ones you make. How is that possible? Ning Fan shook his head and laughed. It's not. It's not. No matter what, I'm not leaving. Are you chasing me away because you don't want me anymore? Ming Ke felt like crying at that moment. The shame in Ning Fan's eyes intensified. He gently pulled her into his arms and patted her back. It's too dangerous here. He did not know how to explain to this little girl how dangerous she was. Since the sect master of the pill sect did not bring her back this time, he would certainly send more people to capture her. Perhaps he had other ways to find her whereabouts. For example, he could use divination techniques. Or, he might have other compass and secret treasures. What if he personally descends to the rain world? What if he asks for strong reinforcements? What if he sends hundreds of rogue immortals to the rain world? Ning Fan would rather die than see the scene of Ming Ke being taken away. He was willing to risk his life for her. However, there were many things that could not be changed just by risking one's life. If I'm in danger, you will protect me, right? You will always protect me, right? Ming Ke looked at Ning Fan with trust. She knew that no matter what kind of danger she was in, Ning Fan would risk his life to save her. Yes. Ning Fan became silent. He could no longer say anything to make Ming Ke leave. Tai Wu sighed helplessly. How could he not see that his king had already fallen deeply in love with Ning Fan? It was just that the person involved did not seem to know what it was. King, there's something you don't know. Just now, this little friend almost died in the hands of an old ancestor of ancient Zhang in order to protect you. What? Ming Ke's small face instantly turned pale. She had no idea that when she was hiding in the Yuanya world, Ning Fan had already thought of risking his life in the outside world and ignited his ancestral blood and primordial spirit. If it wasn't because of me, this little friend would have died. Now, there is still a four heavens true immortal who is eyeing you. If you stay by his side. Before Tai Wu finished his words, Ming Ke already knew what he meant. She was not stupid. She was just a little naive. Ming Ke's eyes were filled with fear. If she continues to stay by his side, she will harm him, right? I won't. Ning Fan saw through her thoughts and said decisively. He stared at Tai Wu coldly. He did not like the way this person misled her. He did not want her to feel guilty or unhappy. Tai Wu smiled embarrassedly and avoided Ning Fan's gaze. Ming Ke took a light breath and suddenly smiled. She looked at Ning Fan. Brother Biscuit, let me protect you next time, okay? My cultivation base is so weak. I can't help you at all. I want to go back to the Dark Sparrow clan. I want to eat all the treasures of the Dark Sparrow clan. I will become stronger than this stinky old man. I want to protect you. You are my queen. Cough cough. Ning Fan let out a few dry coughs. Facing Ming Ke's bold words, he actually did not know whether to laugh or cry. You are my queen. You are my queen, I am a man, alright? Why should I become someone else's queen? However, Ning Fan believed that with Ming Ke's abnormal physique, she might directly break through to the immortal emperor realm after eating all the treasures of the immemorial Dark Sparrow clan, which was guarded by a quasi-emperor, the Dark Sparrow king, and the Pill Devil physique, which could be considered as 1 in a million among the Pill Devils. Does the sect master of the Pill sect know what kind of monstrously powerful enemy he has created? I've decided. I want to go back to the Dark Sparrow clan. However, not now. I will leave when Brother Biscuit ascends. During this period of time, I want to accompany Grandpa Tree more. Oh right. Ming Ke suddenly looked at Tai Wu and smiled evilly. Your name is Tai Wu, isn't it? Little Wu Wu, since you are so powerful, do you have any way to restore the mobility of a tree that has transformed into a loose demon tree? This is a little difficult. Tai Wu's forehead was full of sweat. He had a premonition that Ming Ke was going to arrange a tough task for him again. Just because it's a little difficult, it means you can do it. That's great. Grandpa can finally get rid of the tree body and regain his mobility. Ming Ke's face beamed with joy. Mu Luo had taken care of her growing up. She regarded him as her closest kin. It was really great that she could help Mu Luo get rid of the shackles of the tree body. By the way, little Wu Wu, there's one more thing. Ming Ke's eyes lit up. Tai Wu's forehead was immediately filled with sweat. Is there anything else, King? Do you have any way to resurrect a person who has died for many years and whose remnant soul is in the bamboo? Resurrect. I can't do it. What if I can stabilize her remnant soul and restore her freedom of movement? How about leaving the bamboo forest? This is very difficult, all right. It's decided then. Hold on. Little Woo-Woo, this storage pouch of yours is not bad. Can you give it to me? Ming Ke giggled. Of course. If King needs it, I am willing to hand over my life to you. Jin Woo's eyes turned cold. He untied the storage pouch and passed it to Ming Quebec. Very good. Ming Ke giggled. At the next moment, she passed the storage pouch to Ning Fan. A storage pouch of a quasi-emperor. Do you like it? Do you like it? Ning Fan was stunned. Tai Wu was dumbfounded. It was said that a woman's heart would always be open to outsiders. Isn't this a little too open? Ming Ke took his storage pouch and directly gave it to Ning Fan. This. Even though this storage pouch only contained a few items and the important items were all kept in the clan, this was only for a quasi-emperor. To a cultivator like Ning Fan who was at the Broken Six realm, the items in this storage pouch were a little too precious. Chapter 684. Ming Ke raised her small face and looked at Ning Fan with a grin. Her face was filled with an expression that said, "Quickly praise me." Ning Fan stroked Ming Ke's little head and kept the storage pouch. He did not exchange any pleasantries with her. Instead, his eyes turned gentle and said, "Good girl." Since he could get the storage pouch of a quasi-emperor for free, there was no reason for Ning Fan to reject it. This might be extremely precious to him, but to Tai Wu, it was not worth mentioning. Ning Fan scanned the storage pouch with his spirit sense and his eyes instantly turned solemn. There were not many things in the storage bag. On this trip, Tai Wu only brought a few things and a few Dao crystals before leaving the Dark Sparrow clan. Along the way, they passed by a few ruins and found many spirit herbs. The elixirs that Tai Wu fed Bright Sparrow were picked up along the way. All of these spiritual herbs were extremely old. However, in terms of medicinal efficacy, not many of them were useful to Ning Fan. He did not have the time to improve his pill refinement mastery at the moment. Thus, he did not need these spiritual herbs. In the storage pouch, there were a total of 50 million Dao crystals. To Tai Wu, this was just a small amount of money that he kept for setting up formations. To Ning Fan, however, it was a huge fortune. There were 10 bottles of 8th Revolution pills and 3 9th Revolution pills. All of them were healing pills. These healing pills had miraculous effects on the physical body, the nascent soul, and the monstrous soul. Ning Fan's eyes flashed. Now, he had enough pills for Luo Yu to heal her primordial spirit. It was a pity that there were no elixirs to increase cultivation in the storage bag. After all, Tai Wu was just going on a journey. He only brought some medicine for his injuries as a backup. What was the use of elixirs to increase cultivation? Besides, even if he did, Tai Wu would only bring pills that could raise the cultivation base of a quasi-emperor. It was impossible for him to bring pills that could raise the cultivation base of a void fragmentation realm cultivator. This is World Creation Stone, so many. Suddenly, Ning Fan's eyes widened. He saw a small pile of world creation stones at the corner of the storage pouch. Not just one, but a pile of them. There was a total of 37 world creation stones. 37 world creating stones could make 37 small Kiliacosm treasures. In the past, Ning Fan had obtained a world creation stone from the Thunder Sovereign which upgraded his cauldron world into a small Kiliacosm. These world creation stones were undoubtedly the best materials for practicing the vortex technique. Where did Senior get so many world creating stones from? Ning Fan remained silent for a while before asking. If Tai Wu had found the world creation stone somewhere in the 9 worlds, Ning Fan would like to know the location of that place so that he could search for it again and strive to cultivate his spatial vortex technique to the perfect void vortex realm. These world creation stones were taken from Patriarch Dijiang after I left the Dark Sparrow clan and passed by a ruin where I had a dispute with him. The Dijiang clan cultivates the power of space, so it's normal for their clan leader to possess a world creation stone. Tai Wu smiled lightly. It was as if snatching something from the Dijiang clan was a matter of course and easy. I see. Ning Fan nodded and said nothing more. Ning Fan had already seen everything inside the storage pouch. Just as he was about to retract his divine sense, his eyes suddenly shook and revealed a look of disbelief. This is... With a wave of his palm, Ning Fan took out a strange-looking clay doll from his storage pouch. The clay figurine was a woman who was half human and half snake. There was a mysterious power on the puppet. Ning Fan vaguely remembered that it was the power of Joss Flame. There were a lot of cracks on the surface of the clay doll. It seemed to be severely damaged. Even so, this clay doll was definitely not simple. It was because Ning Fan did not see this clay doll at all when he searched the storage pouch for the first time. It just stayed in the storage pouch without a trace of qi, causing Ning Fan to neglect it. Ning Fan had a hunch that this treasure was the most precious item in the storage pouch. As soon as he saw Ning Fan taking out the clay doll, Tai Wu's eyes burned with desire. He almost had the urge to snatch the clay doll back. However, when Ming Ke gave him a gentle stare, he immediately regained his senses and smiled awkwardly. May I ask, Senior, what is this item? Ning Fan only knew that this item was extraordinary, but he could not see through its abilities. To be honest, this item is the reason why I had a dispute with Patriarch Dijiang. It's called the Joss Flame Demon Doll. It's a treasure crafted by a saintess of the demon race in ancient times. It can seize the power of Joss flames from others. Tai Wu sighed continuously. This item was extremely precious. If it wasn't because of Ming Ke's order, he would not be willing to hand it over. A saintess of the demon race. Seize the power of Joss flames from others. Ning Fan's eyes widened. Saintess was an honorific title for experts at the 3rd step. No one knew if there were still saintesses in the 4 heavens and 9 worlds. Joss Flame was one of the ways for 2nd step immortals to increase their cultivation base. It could be used to increase their cultivation base, and it could also be used to refine treasures in battles. Joss Flame was a kind of faith. It was the power produced by the worship of all living beings. Normally, no one would be able to seize the Joss Flames that belong to you. This Joss Flame Demon Doll could actually seize the Joss Flames of others. It was really shocking. If that was really the case, Ning Fan could just sneak into the temple of a powerful cultivator with this doll and steal all the Joss flames that the cultivator had painstakingly collected for countless years. If that was really the case, Ning Fan could just take this doll out and easily break the opponent's technique when they use the Joss flame technique. However, this treasure seemed to be severely damaged. I wonder how much power it has left. As if he could see through Ning Fan's thoughts, Tai Wu sighed regretfully. This Joss Flame Demon Doll is severely damaged. At most, it can only seize the Joss flames of a true immortal at the True Crossing realm. Unfortunately, the method to create and repair this treasure has long been lost. If this treasure can be repaired, it can even seize the Joss flames of an immortal emperor. Seizing the Joss flames of an immortal emperor meant that if an immortal emperor were to use the Joss flame grade ability, this mud doll could easily break the opponent's ability. What a pity. This mud doll was too badly damaged. Ning Fan, on the other hand, was open-minded. It was already a great profit for him to get a treasure that could even seize the Joss flames of a True Crossing realm true immortal. There was no need for him to sigh. He kept the pills, the Tao crystals and the Joss flame clay doll. After thinking for a while, he passed all the spiritual herbs in his storage pouch to Ming Quebec. These are for you. Really? Give them all to me. The little girl's saliva instantly flowed out of her mouth. She smiled shyly and received the storage pouch. Of course, she would not be courteous to Ning Fan. Let's wait in the ancient heavenly court for now. After Brother Lu comes out, I will bid farewell to him and return to the Rain world. Ning Fan flicked his sleeve and summoned Si Wuxia, Mu Weiliang and his servants from the Yuanya world. Tai Wu put on his cloak again and sealed his cultivation base. He stood respectfully behind Bright Sparrow. Ming Kei's little hands grabbed the spiritual herbs and munched on them. When Mu Weiliang saw how excited Ming Kei was, she also asked for a stock of 100,000 years old spiritual herb and ate it raw. She was not afraid of the power of the elixir either. Ning Fan's eyes shrunk. Only now did he notice that Mu Weiliang's physical body was comparable to a 9th-level Nirvana realm expert even though she did not have any magic power. Although she was resurrected, she retained the strength of the corpse devil physique. After this resurrection, she had completed the 3rd transformation of the corpse devil, and her lifespan was limitless. It doesn't taste good. The 6-year-old Mu Weiliang pouted and returned the half-eaten spirit herb to Bright Sparrow. Does it taste good? Bright Sparrow took the spiritual herb and nibbled on it. She discovered that it was quite delicious. Lu Xiu and the others were shocked to see Mu Weiliang eat the 100,000-year-old elixir raw. The women around Master are all perverts. They're all so powerful. Ancient Zhang's corpse was given to Niali to eat. With a wave of his hand, Ning Fan sent all the 8th and 9th revolution healing medicines he obtained from Tai Wu into the profound Yin world and passed them to Luoyu. He believed that these pills were enough for her to recover her peak 9 revolution broken realm cultivation base. It was even possible for her to recover her life immortal realm cultivation base. The current Ning Fan had suppressed the devil sense in his heart. His 7 emotions had already been extinguished and his injuries were basically stabilized. However, it was difficult for ordinary people to notice any difference in him from his appearance. Si Wuxia looked at the innocent Mu Weiliang. The corners of her lips under the veil unknowingly curled into a faint smile. Thank you. My wish has been fulfilled. From now on, I am me and not her anymore. She looked at Ning Fan and smiled faintly. It was the first time she showed a sincere smile to Ning Fan with the identity of the Jade Lake Saintess. After Mu Weiliang's soul was reconstructed, she was no longer the 7 spirits but herself. The past was over. She could finally let go of the knot in her heart and live calmly in this world. I saved her willingly. Why do you need to thank me? Ning Fan shook his head and smiled. Si Wuxia frowned slightly and let out a faint sigh. She could see that Ning Fan's heart was not smiling. It was desolation. He had lost his 7 emotions. He just didn't want his beloved to worry about him. That was why he still forced a smile. The smile did not reach the bottom of his eyes or the bottom of his heart, but it might not be untrue. Your devil sense has been suppressed. Who is so powerful that they could even seal the devil sense? Is the life immortal realm cultivator who chased after you really dead? Who killed him? Si Wuxia looked at Ning Fan worriedly and then shifted her gaze to Tai Wu. Her intuition told her that this old man was not simple. Ning Fan only told her that he was out of danger but did not tell her the details. It was related to the identity of immemorial Dark Sparrow and Bright Sparrow. Don't worry about me. He's one of us. Everything is fine now. Everything is over. Ning Fan looked at Tai Wu and smiled. He did not explain how ancient Zhang fell and how the devil sense was sealed. Si Wuxia could understand him without any explanation. I'm not worried about you. Forget it. It's meaningless to talk about this. Si Wuxia felt that her argument was a little weak. She was too lazy to defend herself. She was worried about him. All the grudges would eventually lead to a lake in her heart that could no longer calm down. I'm going back to the Jade Pool. Since your devil sense is fine for now, remember this. Don't come to the Western Heaven when your cultivation base is not strong enough. The Buddhist sect shows no mercy to the ancient devils. Si Wuxia reminded him again. Sisi, be careful. Ning Fan could see that Si Wuxia's clone was on the verge of collapse. Something big must have happened to the true body. Perhaps it would be beneficial for the true body if Si Wuxia withdrew her clone earlier. I know. You have to be careful too. If you really come to the four heavens one day and get attacked by the Buddhist sect, I will help you. Without saying anything more, Si Wuxia withdrew her clone, turned into specks of starlight, and vanished. In the western heaven, in the Kunlun Jade Pool, a white-robed lady was struggling to resist the great heavenly tribulation of the shedding void realm. The tribulation clouds roared. Her strength was exhausted and her body was covered with wounds. However, she still divided half of her magic power to maintain her clone in the lower world. All of a sudden, rays of starlight flew from the lower world and entered her body. Her bright eyes felt relaxed. After reading the memories of her clone, a faint smile hung on the corner of her lips. When she raised her head to look at the great heavenly tribulation again, there was no longer any fear on her face. He's really good. Amidst the rumbling sounds of the heavenly tribulation, the lady's voice was very soft. No one could hear it. After Si Wuxia left, Ning Fan was stunned for a while. Then, he began to look at the other rewards he obtained from this trip. He killed his way up to the 33 heavens and turned into a blood devil to kill all the immortals. Even though he did not collect many storage pouches and Dao fruits, his harvest was definitely not small. There were 12 Void Fragmentation Realm Dao fruits, more than 200 Void Refinement Realm Dao fruits, countless 50,000 to 100,000 years old spiritual herbs, and many of them were above 100,000 years old. He obtained more than 10 million Dao crystals. In total, he now had a total of 70 million Dao crystals. Along the way, the corpse qi in his body had reached a bottleneck. He just needed an opportunity to complete the third corpse transformation and extend his lifespan. From the experts of the Immortal Burial Clan, Ning Fan obtained countless secret techniques of the Tao of Corpse, including many immortal techniques. He did not plan to cultivate these secret techniques of the Tao of Corpse for the time being. After completing the third corpse transformation, perhaps he could start cultivating them. Ning Fan had also obtained the method to set up the corpse unraveling grand formation. This formation had a very small chance of making a corpse cultivator achieve immortality. However, the chance was too small. Ning Fan had not decided to use this formation to achieve immortality yet. What Ning Fan was most concerned about was Chang Shan's storage pouch. Chang Shan was from the Pill sect and he was a 7th Revolution Pill refinement master. There were many pill recipes, spiritual herbs and secret pills in his storage pouch. During his trip to the land of ghost rearing, he obtained 9 sense beads of life immortal ghosts. These 9 sense beads could greatly improve a cultivator's spirit sense. In Chang Shan's storage pouch, there were even specialized pills that could harmonize the power of the sense beads and absorb their spirit sense power. This is great. Ning Fan's eyes lit up. If he devours these 9 sense beads, his spirit sense would be greatly improved. While waiting for the ancient heavenly court to close, Ning Fan went into the profound Yin world and used Chang Shan's pills to harmonize one of the sense beads to refine them one by one. After refining the first sense bead, Ning Fan's spirit sense cultivation base reached the peak of the 7th fragmentation realm. After consuming the second sense bead, his spirit sense cultivation base naturally broke through to the 8th fragmentation realm. When he consumed the 7th sense bead, his spirit sense had already broken through to the 9th fragmentation realm. After consuming the last 2 sense beads, his spirit sense cultivation base stopped at the middle stage of the 9th fragmentation realm. Ning Fan spent a total of 3 months to completely refine the 9 sense beads of life immortal ghosts. After 3 months, Ning Fan returned to the outside of the heavenly court. His injuries had already been completely healed by the Black Star technique. Even though his cultivation base had improved, his combat power had also increased tremendously with the enhancement of his spirit sense. If he uses the incarnation technique and soul extraction technique now, his magic power would not be much weaker than a rogue immortal's. When Ning Fan returned to the outside world, Lu Xiu and the others felt that their master had undergone some changes. He seemed to have become stronger, but they had no idea about the details. Ming Ke and Mu Weiliang were chatting and laughing while gnawing on spiritual herbs. The two of them were enjoying themselves. When they saw Ning Fan coming out, they immediately went forward to greet him. Tai Wu gave Ning Fan a deep look. He could naturally see that Ning Fan's spirit sense had improved tremendously. While feeling amazed, he also secretly sent a telepathic message to Ning Fan to remind him. Young friend, although your divine will has improved, it is not solid. You need to stabilize it. Thank you for your reminder, senior. Ning Fan nodded his head in response. After another month or so, the Void Fragmentation Realm experts of the 9 worlds returned to the outside world one after another. Each of them had a lingering fear on their faces. When these people saw Ning Fan, all of them came to him and cupped their fists to thank him. Thank you, Reign Sovereign, for saving us. If it wasn't for you, we would have died in the hands of that life immortal. Words cannot express my gratitude for your great kindness. Those low-grade Void Fragmentation Realm experts cupped their fists to express their gratitude. Their eyes were filled with even more respect and fear when they looked at Ning Fan. No one asked the whereabouts of the white-haired life immortal. Since Ning Fan was still alive, the white-haired life immortal was most likely dead. They would rather not know how Ning Fan killed a life immortal realm expert. This trip really made us sigh. The 3 rogue devil old ancestors of the devil world sighed. There were originally 4 rogue devil old ancestors in the devil world. Today, one of them was eaten alive by the white-haired life immortal. Thinking about it now still made their hearts palpitate. After the 3 of them sighed, they cupped their fists at Ning Fan and said with a serious expression. We will always remember fellow Daoists' kindness of saving our lives. As long as the 3 of us are still alive, the devil world will never offend the rain world. We will forever be allies of the rain world. The expressions of the other cultivators of the devil world changed after hearing the words of the 3 old ancestors. However, none of them dared to interrupt. The 3 old ancestors were going to form an alliance with the rain world. How many years had it been since the devil world, which was one of the 3 upper realms, formed an alliance with the rain world of the 3 lower realms? However, everyone also understood that the 3 old ancestors wanted to form an alliance with the rain world. Firstly, it was to repay Ning Fan for saving their lives. Secondly, it was because they were afraid of Ning Fan's strength. That day, Ning Fan transformed into a blood devil and swept across the vast sky to fight against the white-haired life immortal. No one would dare to forget that scene. No one could. If Ning Fan wants to, he could easily kill rogue immortal experts. With him around, who would dare to provoke the rain world? Our demon world is also willing to become allies with the rain world. The old Crimson Emperor and the old Fox Emperor chuckled. Our heaven immortal world is also willing to be on good terms with the rain world. The old ancestor of the heaven immortal world cupped his fists at Ning Fan and said. The cultivators of the other worlds were not strong enough to represent their own worlds, so they naturally did not dare to speak carelessly. However, these people were well aware that the current rain world was not in existence that they could afford to offend. Some of them saw Lu Xiao and the rest of the 17 Void Fragmentation Realm old monsters and a gigantic toad beside Ning Fan. Among the 17 Void Fragmentation Realm experts, 2 of them were at the 8th Fragmentation Realm while 5 of them were at the 7th Fragmentation Realm. The toad was at the peak of the 8th Demolisher level. The way these experts looked at Ning Fan was clearly the way they looked at their master. The auras of these people were clearly the auras of experts from the immortal burial tribe. Needless to say, these people were the slaves that Ning Fan subdued from the heaven court. With such a large number of experts, they could easily sweep through the lower and middle realms. Moreover, Ning Fan's strength alone seemed to be enough to dominate the upper 3 realms. Currently, the rain world was known as the weakest in the 9 worlds. However, those with discerning eyes knew that it was not an exaggeration to call it the strongest in the 9 worlds. Brother Ning, you are indeed fine. I knew that you would be fine. Lu Haoyue laughed heartily and walked out of the crowd. The worry in his eyes slowly faded away. Brother Lu. Ning Fan nodded at Lu Haoyue. He naturally knew that Lu Haoyue was worried about him. He did not say much and did not mention the matter of risking his life to save him. Some words did not need to be mentioned. It was fine to just bury them in one's heart. Lu Haoyue also did not say much. He took out 2 jars of spiritual wine and tossed one to Ning Fan. Without saying anything else, he lifted the wine jar and drank it in one gulp. Ning Fan also did not say much. He raised his head and drank the entire jar of wine until there was not a single drop left. Drinking with him meant that he had acknowledged him as a friend. Brother Ning, are you going back to the rain world now? Lu Haoyue asked with a smile. Yes. I won't send you off. Please wait. Ning Fan cupped his fists at Lu Haoyue and took out his ancient golden sword. Then, he brought everyone and flew towards the heavenly gate of the rain world in the lower level of the broken domain. The gates of the ancient heavenly court were slowly closing. The other old monsters no longer had the mood to stay. After resting for a while, they returned to their respective worlds. The trip to the ancient heavenly court this time was not long, but too many major events had happened. Shocking news spread throughout the 9 realms. Moksha Sovereign, Snake Sovereign and Ape Sovereign had fallen. Even the rogue devils of the devil world had fallen. If it wasn't for Ning Fan, the Rain Sovereign, all the cultivators of the 9 worlds who entered the ancient heavenly court would have died. Ning Fan brought back 17 Void Fragmentation Realm experts and a Peak 8 Fragmentation Realm demon beast from the ancient heavenly court. If Ning Fan goes all out, he could even kill a rogue immortal. The 3 upper worlds announced their alliance with the Rain world. The 3 middle worlds and the 3 lower worlds announced their friendship with the Rain world. No one dared to offend the Rain world. In the Rain world, Li Tsungtian looked at the information in his hands in disbelief. He then looked at the experts behind Ning Fan. After returning to their worlds safely, over 100 Void Fragmentation Realm old monsters sent people to the Rain world to send gifts to Ning Fan to thank him for saving their lives. Each of the experts that Ning Fan brought back was powerful enough to wipe out the entire Rain world that was ruled by Yun Zhongshuan. Little Ning, can you tell me what exactly happened in the ancient heavenly court? Li Tsungtian smiled bitterly. He had always known that Ning Fan was capable of stirring up trouble. However, he did not know that Ning Fan could dominate the 9 worlds with his own strength. Even the 3 upper worlds had to take the initiative to form an alliance with the Rain world. Since Senior Li has asked, I will naturally tell you everything I know. However, before that, I have something to discuss with Senior. What is it? I'm going to the Sword World. What? You've just returned from the ancient heavenly court and you're already going to the Sword World? Chapter 685. Luo Yu once again entered seclusion to repair her primordial spirit, while Nieli once again formed a demon cocoon and broke through to the next realm. Mu Weiliang was temporarily handed over to Sister Ji He, while Ming Ke was busy commanding Tai Wu to save Mu Luo and Yu Huang. With so many experts and Tai Wu, the Rain Immortal world was very safe, very safe. After returning to the Rain world for just 1 month, Ning Fan immediately set off for the Sword world. He was going to fulfill his promise to the old devil. He knew that the old devil had been waiting for him for a long time. Perhaps little Dugu was also waiting for him. Master, on a barren mountain in the Sword world, a realm gate opened and Ning Fan appeared. He had killed countless people and had countless realm gate jade slips in his hands. Opening a realm gate to travel through the 9 realms was a piece of cake for him. His face was cold and emotionless as he walked among the mountains and rivers. After all, he had lost his 7 emotions. When there was no one around, or in front of outsiders, there was no need for him to force a smile. He didn't stay in Yu country for long. Perhaps, he was afraid that Su Qiuling and the other women with a clear mind would see through him and worry about him. The Sword world was much bigger than the Rain world. The landscape was dominated by mountains and there were very few rivers. There was a boundless mountain range in front of them, and many villages and cities were built along the mountains. From time to time, sword lights would fly across the sky. There were many sword cultivators in the sword world. Wherever one went, one could see cultivators riding on their swords. The sword realm had 3 great territories, which were Heaven Border, Profound Border, and Snow Border. There were many bandits in the Heaven Border, many demons in the Xian Border, and many sects in the Snow Border. There was a sword hall in each of the 3 territories. The Sky Border Heavenly Sovereign's grandson was once engaged to Dugu. However, due to Ning Fan's sudden appearance and taking away 3 traces of Dugu's sword qi, the agreement between Dugu and the Heavenly Sovereign was broken. Thus, the engagement was cancelled. Tianjiang sword cultivators specialized in using a special flying sword that was similar to the Mo knife. Xianjiang's Miao Huang was a female sword emperor. It was said that Xianjiang and Shuijiang were not on good terms and had always been at war. But for some reason, in recent decades, Xianjiang and Shuijiang suddenly stopped fighting and made peace. Moreover, this Miao Huang seemed to be running to the Snow Border very frequently. The Xianjiang sword cultivators were adept at using a strange flying sword similar to the Miaodao. Emperor Ling of the Snow Border was the father of little Dugu. Now, the old devil was living in the Snow Border. The Snow Border was the orthodox sword cultivator of the sword world. It was said that in the Snow Border, there were still the remains of the sword ancestors' secluded cultivation. They often held the sword ancestors' trial, allowing the young generation to seek opportunities. In the past, little Dugu had obtained the sword finger technique by chance during the trial of the sword ancestor and gave it to Ning Fan. If I don't die after 100 years, I will definitely go to the sword world. That was the promise he made when he was young. Ning Fan's desolate heart suddenly felt warm. He looked at the one-heart sword imprint on the back of his hand and the corner of his mouth curved into a smile. His smile was unnatural and forced, but it came from the bottom of his heart. Little girl, I'm here for you. How are you? The way he looked at little Dugu now was just like how he looked at a little girl. All the information was gathered by Ning Fan along the way. It wasn't accurate to call it a question. When Ning Fan was drinking in a village at the foot of a mountain, he encountered a group of bandits and obtained all the information he needed. Killing, soul-searching, he had never been a good person. At most, he would not offend others if they did not offend him. Perhaps little Dugu would be disappointed in this aspect. She so hoped that he would be a good person. Standing on the peak of a certain mountain, Ning Fan changed his hand seal and displayed the heaven-peering rain technique. In an instant, the entire sword world was covered in a dense drizzle that moistened everything silently. Ning Fan closed his eyes. Every blade of grass and every tree in the 3 great territories of the sword world was reflected in his mind. When he opened his eyes, the drizzling rain that filled the sky had dispersed. After confirming the direction of the Snow Border, Ning Fan slowly walked towards it. His pace didn't seem fast, but every step he took was accompanied by the Tao of life and death, and every step he took allowed him to cross a distance of 3 million miles. It wouldn't take long to get to the Snow Border. In the Snow Border, it was the opening day of the secret place of the Sword Ancestor, which was held once in 100 years. This was the Sword Ancestor's trial. In the 3 territories, all young cultivators above the nascent soul stage could participate in the Sword Ancestor's trial. Of course, old monsters could also enter it to cultivate, but the benefits would be minimal. For nascent soul cultivators, the Sword Ancestor trial was very dangerous. It is said that there are many sword beasts comparable to nascent soul cultivators in the secret plane, which are quite powerful. In previous trials, many people have died in the trial. Those who died were all people with low cultivation, so they couldn't blame anyone else. The path of cultivation had always been about survival of the fittest. The Sword Ancestor's secret plane was located in the Linghuang Great Swamp of the Snow Border. At this moment, the land of the Linghuang Great Swamp was filled with young cultivators from the entire sword world. Of course, there were also countless old monsters following them. They were the seniors of those young cultivators. Ling Palace was the main host of the Sword Ancestor's trial. The Heaven Palace and the Miao Palace would also be in charge of this trial. After all, even though the sword ancestor's secret plane was located in the snow border, it was the common property of all the cultivators in the sword world. It was impossible for Ling Palace to manage it alone. The sky above the snow border was filled with snowflakes. All of a sudden, the snowflakes disappeared and were replaced by rain. After a while, the rain stopped and the snow fell again. Oh! I didn't expect it to rain in the snow border. It's really a rare sight. However, if something is out of the ordinary, it could also be a bad omen. There were 3 sovereigns of the sword world sitting on a high platform. One of them, an old-fashioned old man, said with a cold smile. The heavenly sovereign is worrying too much. It's just that the snow has turned into rain. Perhaps some cultivator above the spirit-severing realm has cultivated the rain intent and changed the weather. Ling Huang squinted his eyes and looked at the heavenly sovereign thoughtfully. Ever since the engagement between Dugu and the grandson of the heavenly sovereign was cancelled, the Ling Palace and the Heaven Palace had been on bad terms. 10 years ago, the heavenly sovereign broke through to the 6th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. His cultivation base was much stronger than Ling Huang and Miao Huang. He even sent bandits of the heaven border to rob the small sects in the snow border occasionally. Ling Huang pondered for a while. He wondered if there was a deeper meaning behind the heavenly sovereign's words. Could it be that the heavenly sovereign wants to attack the Ling Palace? No, it's impossible. Although Ling Huang had yet to break through to the 6th heavenly layer, he wouldn't be much weaker than the heavenly sovereign. He didn't think that the heavenly sovereign would have the guts to attack the Ling Palace. Huh? Why don't I see Han Yuanji? Ling Jiuyo, did you hide Han Yuanji somewhere? Do you know that I came all the way to the snowy region to endure the cold just to see him? Miao Huang's beautiful brows knit together as she looked around the crowd. She was slightly unhappy. She seemed to be interested in the old monster. Humph. Don't mention that person to me. Ling Huang's face darkened instantly. He didn't like Han Yuanji and his disciple even more. Han Yuanji had hooked up with his eldest daughter, causing her to be in a half-dead state. One of Han Yuanji's disciples had hooked up with his youngest daughter, causing her to be distracted every day. As a father, he despised Han Yuanji's shameless behavior very much. However, seeing that Han Yuanji was wholeheartedly trying to save his eldest daughter, he didn't fall out with Han Yuanji for the time being. As for Han Yuanji's disciple, he heard that he was just a nascent soul realm junior a few decades ago. He didn't know if he had broken through to the mid-nascent soul realm. Such a person wanted to marry his youngest daughter after cheating her of her sword chi. Really, Ling Huang only knew that there was a young man who took little Dugu's sword chi and planted the one-heart sword seal with her. He only knew that the young man was the old monster's disciple, but he didn't know that he was the evil cloud rain sovereign who had shaken the 9 worlds. Even if he knew, he would probably be prejudiced against Ning Fan. He didn't even show respect to the old monster who was a deacon of the 4 heavens. He had a stubborn temper and a one-track mind. You think I won't talk about him just because you said so? I still want to talk about him. I like him. Miao Huang's face didn't even blush or gasp for breath when he said this. She was a Miao woman. She always had the guts to love and hate. Millions of li away, in an ice city, the old monster raised his head and looked at the sky. When he saw the falling snow turning into a drizzle, his old face immediately smiled like a chrysanthemum flower. Smelly brat, you finally came. That disciple of yours is quite capable. Now, his name has spread across the 9 worlds. There is no one who isn't afraid of him. Emperor Xia said indifferently, but his eyes were full of praise. Nonsense. Of course he's capable. He was taught by me. The old monster said proudly. As far as this old man knows, among his many divine abilities, none of them belong to your Black Devil sect. You didn't seem to call him anything. Emperor Xia's tone was cold and indifferent, but he didn't hesitate to expose the old devil's secret. I taught him how to snatch things. Have you heard of this saying? It's better to teach a man to fish than to teach him to fish. It's better to snatch 100 treasures from a man than to obtain a master's treasure. The old monster quibbled with a straight face. The thickness of his skin made Emperor Xia speechless. A ripple suddenly appeared in little Dugu's eyes, which were as calm as water. She automatically ignored the old monster's various boasting and only heard the sentence that the old monster said. He's here. She didn't say much and flew towards the Linghuang Great Swamp with a rainbow. Smelly girl, where are you going? Aren't you going to wait for Ningbrat here? There are still 10 days left until the Sword Ancestor's trial. I'm going there to wait for him. He will come to find me. I'm sure. Dugu smiled faintly. Her smile was enough to topple a city. Then, she disappeared in a flash. 3 days later, Dugu, who was at the half-step void refinement realm, arrived at the venue outside the Sword Ancestor's secret place. At the center of the venue, nearly 3,000 youths above the nascent soul realm had gathered. There were more than 60 people above the spirit-severing realm and only one person above the void refinement realm. That person was the grandson of the heavenly sovereign, known as the #1 youth of the sword world, Tianyi Yunshui. The heavenly sovereign's name was Tianyi Xiong. The surname of the heavenly palace had always been a compound surname. Theoretically, all the youths above the nascent soul realm were qualified to enter the secret place. Therefore, before the secret place was opened, there had never been a competition to screen out the number of participants. However, countless arenas were built outside the secret place for the youths to spar with each other freely. Dugugu, you're still so beautiful after so many years. I'm really moved. Tianyi Yunshui squeezed through the crowd and approached Dugu with a gentle smile. His appearance was extremely handsome and his temperament was as gentle as jade. His smile immediately attracted the hearts of a few beautiful female cultivators. When Dugu saw Tianyi Yunshui, her eyes couldn't help but reveal a hint of disgust. Dugugu. What a disgusting title. What right does he have to call me that? Little demon Ning should be the one to call me that. Dugu and fellow Taoist aren't familiar with each other. Please behave yourself. Fellow Taoist. The unfamiliar title was enough to show that Tianyi Yunshui had no weight in Dugu's heart. Tianyi Yunshui's eyes darkened and said coldly, don't forget that you used to be my fiancé. Oh. Dugu didn't remember such a thing. The so-called engagement was just a bet between the Heavenly Emperor and me. I won the bet, so naturally, the engagement never existed. Dugu couldn't be bothered to talk to Tianyi Yunshui anymore. She turned and walked in another direction. Tianyi Yunshui flashed and stood in front of Dugu again. He sneered, nothing that I fancy can escape from my control. What he fancied was not only Dugu's person, but also the finger sword technique that Dugu obtained from the Sword Ancestor's trial. Tianyi Yunshui, if you continue to pester me, don't blame me for being merciless. Merciless? You? You're the #1 female in the sword world, but you're no match for me. If you don't believe me, you can fight me in the arena. Tianyi Yunshui leaped and landed on one of the arenas. On that arena, there were 2 nascent soul cultivators engaged in a fierce battle. Tianyi Yunshui didn't want to waste his breath. With a flash of his sleeve, countless rays of sword light slashed towards the 2 of them, knocking them off the arena. They were already coughing out blood and were severely injured. Tianyi Yunshui, why you actually attacked us for no reason? The 2 injured nascent soul cultivators said indignantly. Are you not convinced? Tianyi Yunshui swept a glance at them. Their expressions immediately changed drastically and they coughed out blood again. Under fear, how would they dare to say anything else? The elders of these 2 people were divine transformation realm cultivators. Even though they were indignant that Tianyi Yunshui attacked them, they did not dare to stand up for their juniors. Tianyi Yunshui alone was a void glimpse stage cultivator. He wasn't someone they could offend. Moreover, Tianyi Yunshui still had the Heaven Palace behind him. When the young handsome men on the scene saw Tianyi Yunshui attacking their opponents, some were fearful while some were indignant. However, None of them dared to say anything. Sovereign Ling frowned. Sovereign Miao also let out a disdainful snort. As for the Heavenly Emperor, he laughed loudly. As expected of my grandson. You should be so domineering. Saleski's Dugu, come up and fight your husband. Saleski's Cloudwater looked provocatively at Dugu, who was standing below the stage. The crowd immediately went into an uproar, because Tian Yi and Yun Shui had added her husband's surname in front of Dugu's name. The customs of the Sword Realm were special. Unmarried women did not have surnames. Father Dugu's surname was Ling, but his surname could not be Ling White Bones like a mountain, forgetting the surname. Dugu's surname must follow her husband's. Dugu's beautiful eyes were cold. She did not like to be entangled with Tianyi Yunshui, but Tianyi Yunshui had really gone too far. My name is not Tianyi Dugu. My name is Ning Dugu. My husband is most likely surnamed Ning. Dugu took a step forward and turned into a streak of sword light, instantly landing on the arena. Facing Tianyi Yunshui, who was a realm higher than her, she showed no fear. Heavenly Sovereign, what is the meaning of this? Emperor Ling's eyes darkened. Although he didn't like Dugu boasting that his surname was Ning, he didn't like the Heavenly Palace's incessant pestering. How could he allow outsiders to bully his daughter? How could Tianyi Yunshui bully a divine transformation realm girl with his void refinement realm cultivation base? Hee, it's just a child throwing a tantrum. We elders can just watch quietly from the side. The Heavenly Sovereign burst into laughter. He did not feel that his grandson was acting arrogantly at all. Instead, a hint of expectation rose in his eyes. If his grandson could really capture Dugu's heart, his original plan to eliminate Ling clan could be postponed. It would be safer to let his grandson marry into Ling clan and take over Ling clan step by step. If that little girl Dugu doesn't know how to appreciate his kindness, a hint of darkness flashed across the Heavenly Sovereign's eyes. He had already invited a few strong reinforcements from the 3 middle realms and even 7 sway from the 3 upper realms. If he couldn't take over Ling clan through words, then he would take it by force. Tianyi Yunshui sneered at Dugu. He raised his hand and a strange flying sword that looked like a long knife appeared in his hand. Seeing that your cultivation base is still low, your husband will give you a handicap of 3 strikes. No need. I'll make you speechless right away. Turning sword into fire. Dugu's first strike was turning sword into fire. This sword was originally a spirit realm sword technique. However, Dugu had already modified it into a mortal void realm sword technique. As soon as this sword was unleashed, a raging wave of flaming sword light slashed towards Tianyi Yunshui. Tianyi Yunshui was greatly shocked. He hurriedly took 3 steps back and held the flying sword with both of his hands. In an instant, a black moon sword light immediately slashed the flaming sword light into 2. This was one of the mortal void realm sword techniques of the Heavenly Palace, Crescent Moon Slash. White bones like a mountain. Dugu was not afraid of the power of the Crescent Moon Slash at all. A sword cultivator must have a strong heart of the sword that would not flinch even if Mount Tai collapsed in front of them. A white bone sword light was unleashed and it actually managed to resist the power of the Crescent Moon Slash. Tianyi Yunshui's expression immediately turned gloomy. Boos could be heard from all directions. Tianyi Yunshui, who was at the Void Glimpse stage and claimed to be the #1 young man in the sword world, had his sword light blocked by a half-step Void Refinement Realm woman. This matter naturally made him a laughing stock. Purple Moon Slash. Tianyi Yunshui held the sword with both of his hands and slashed again. A purple sword light slashed towards Dugu. Without saying a word, Dugu used white bones like a mountain to break this sword. Before the tip of his foot touched the ground, he had already executed the 3rd move. Heart drawing. The moment this sword was drawn, Tianyi Yunshui felt an intense pain in his heart, as if his heart was about to be sliced into pieces. He was already showing signs of defeat. The Heavenly Emperor's expression changed. He never would have thought that Tianyi Yunshui would lose. The Heavenly Palace's first elder immediately made a move to save Dugu. The first elder's figure flashed, and he appeared on the dueling ring. With a single finger, he broke Drawing Heart's sword. Then, with a flip of his hand, he pointed at Dugu. Ling Huang was enraged, but before he could do anything to help, a cold voice suddenly rang out. Scram! With just that one word, an unimaginable destructive force immediately spread out from the Great Elder of the Heavenly Palace. In the blink of an eye, the Great Elder of the Heavenly Palace was heavily injured, coughing up blood and flying out of the arena. As for Tianyi Yunshui, he was held high in midair by a white-clothed young man by the neck. You! Who are you? The Heavenly Emperor was furious. Chapter 686. Scram! It was only a single word, but it was incomparably cold, yet it caused the world to tremble. The mountains were afraid, the clouds were afraid, the wind and snow were as silent as cicadas in winter. The voice carried an unimaginable destructive force. With just a single blow, it had severely injured the Great Elder of the Heavenly Palace who had just attacked. The Great Elder of the Heavenly Palace coughed up blood and flew off the stage. He fell to the ground and was unable to get up for a long time. He stared at Ning Fan in disbelief. His eyes were filled with deep fear. He had once entered the Heaven Court and was even saved by Ning Fan. That was how he managed to avoid dying in the hands of the white-haired life immortal. He knew how terrifying Ning Fan was. He recognized Ning Fan's appearance. On the arena, the white-robed young man who protected Dugu behind him, the one who severely injured him with a single word and held Tianyi Yunshui like a dog, was none other than the evil Cloud Rain Sovereign, Ning Fan. He recognized Ning Fan, but most of the old monsters in the Sword World did not recognize his appearance. When the Heavenly Sovereign saw his grandson being strangled by Ning Fan, he was extremely furious. The Great Elder of the Heaven Palace had a cultivation base at the third heavenly layer of the Void Fragmentation Realm, but he was severely injured by Ning Fan with just a single word. Even though he did not know who Ning Fan was, he knew that Ning Fan's cultivation base was at least at the fifth heavenly layer of the Void Fragmentation Realm. Who are you? How dare you injure the Great Elder of the Heavenly Palace? How dare you? Let go of my grandson. The Heavenly Sovereign abruptly rose to his feet. His eyes flashed with blood-red light. A wave of aura force at the sixth break realm pressed down on Ning Fan from afar, trying to intimidate him. Ning Fan did not even bother to look at the oppressive aura force that was pressing down on him. He stared at the heavenly water of cloud in his hand. His eyes remained cold and his killing intent had already been triggered. Don't kill him. I don't want to see you kill anyone, little Dugu suddenly said from behind. She did not like to see Ning Fan's killing people. She would rather Ning Fan's be a vain opening youth who had just entered 7 Apricot City forever, and his hands would never be stained with blood. Ning Fan's heart skipped a beat. He looked back at Dugu Mingjing's eyes and sighed. He casually tossed Tianyi Yunshui out of the arena, no longer bothering with this Void Glimpse Stage Jr. He just stood there, and the pressure of the Heavenly Sovereign couldn't descend at all. He turned around, looked at Dugu, and smiled. I'm here. Little demon Ning, at least you know what's good for you. If you break your promise, I will never forgive you. Dugu snorted softly, but a smile appeared on her tranquil face. When the Heavenly Sovereign saw that Ning Fan did not kill Tianyi Yunshui, he felt slightly relieved. When he saw that his aura force could not do anything to Ning Fan at all, he thought to himself, could it be that Ning Fan is just a cultivator at the broken sixth realm who is not afraid of his aura force? With a leap, he descended from the high platform and shielded the Great Elder, Tianyi and Yunshui who had fallen to the ground behind him. Then, he stared at Ning Fan coldly. So what if you have 6 shatters? He had to give him an explanation for hurting the people of his Sky Palace. Who are you? You must give me an explanation for injuring the people of my Sky Palace, or else, The Mikado's eyes were filled with threatening intent. The surrounding cultivators were also guessing Ning Fan's identity. Miao Huang remained silent. He always felt that Ning Fan's temperament was somewhat similar to that unromantic old man Han. Ling Huang's gaze relaxed slightly, and he had a good impression of this white-clothed young man that he'd never met before. If the white-robed young man had not saved him, Dugu would most likely have been taught a lesson by the great elder of the Sky Palace. However, Dugu actually addressed this young man as Little Devil Ning just now. Could this young man be Old Man Han's disciple, the person that little Dugu could never forget? As soon as he thought of this, the good impression that Ling Huang had for Ning Fan vanished into thin air. His eyes were filled with hostility. When he thought about it again, he was shocked. In the past, when Ning Fan and little Dugu planted the Dugu sword seal, it was said that he only had the strength of a nascent soul realm cultivator. Moreover, he was not a true nascent soul realm cultivator. Now, his cultivation base has already reached the void fragmentation realm. How many years has it been? His cultivation base actually improved so quickly. Moreover, his void fragmentation realm cultivation base was at least at the 6th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. Even though Ling Huang could not see through Ning Fan's cultivation base, he could vaguely feel that his cultivation base was lower than Ning Fan's. On second thought, Little Devil Ning came from the Rain World. His surname was Ning and his cultivation base was at least at the broken 6th realm. All of a sudden, Ling Huang seemed to have guessed Ning Fan's identity. His eyes were filled with astonishment, but he did not say anything. Facing the Mikado's question, Ning Fan's eyes turned cold and he took a step towards him. With just a single step, 2,720 traces of black and white chi coiled around his body. With just a single step, the aura force of the 6th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm swept across the place, forming a silent storm. This step was on the line between life and death. It was indescribably mysterious. None of the people present had even reached the 7th fragmentation realm. Naturally, none of them could see through the mysteriousness of this step. The Mikado could only vaguely see that Ning Fan's step was extremely extraordinary. At the next moment, an overwhelming pressure directly hit his chest, causing his chi to become chaotic. He hurriedly took a few steps back before he could stabilize his body. His forehead was already drenched in cold sweat. 6th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. How could the Mikado not see that Ning Fan was just a cultivator at the 6th fragmentation realm? Moreover, Ning Fan's strength was far above his. I am Ning Fan. I was the one who injured him. How do you want me to explain this to you? This was Ning Fan's answer. His voice was not loud, but it spread across the entire Ling desolate swamp. All the cultivators in the room instantly fell into dead silence. Everyone's eyes were filled with deep respect and disbelief when they looked at Ning Fan. Tian Yun Shui's face was filled with astonishment. He claimed to be the #1 young man in the sword world. Even though he dared to be domineering in the sword world, he also knew who he could offend and who he could not. The Rain Sovereign, Ning Fan, was now the person who could not be offended in the 9 worlds. The Mikado's hands that were hidden in his sleeves were already soaked with cold sweat. When he looked at Ning Fan, the arrogance in his eyes was gone. Explanation. How would he dare to ask Ning Fan to give him an explanation? He was the Mikado and he had the ambition to unify the sword world. However, that ambition was only limited to the sword world. He dared to attack the Ling Palace, but he would not dare to offend the Rain World no matter what, let alone the Rain Sovereign, Ning Fan. Ning Fan was a person whom the old ancestors of the upper 3 worlds tried their best to befriend. Rumor has it that Ning Fan himself had the strength to kill a rogue immortal. Such a person alone was enough to flatten the Heaven Palace. How would the Mikado dare to offend him? You must be joking, Rain Sovereign. How would I dare to ask you to give me an explanation? The Mikado forced a smile on his stiff face, but he was met with Ning Fan's cold eyes as usual. Didn't you want an explanation? Sure. I have always been a reasonable person. I will give you an explanation. I will tell you why I injured her. She's mine. I'll kill anyone who dares to harm her. Are you satisfied with this explanation? Ning Fan's eyes narrowed and pointed at Dugu, who was beside him. A feeling of extreme danger immediately rose in the Mikado's heart. The Mikado's expression changed. He did not expect Dugu to be Ning Fan's woman. He did not expect the Ling Palace to have such a powerful backer. At the same time, Tianyi Yunshui was also drenched in cold sweat. He never knew that the person who planted the one-heart sword seal with Dugu was the dignified Rain Sovereign, Ning Fan. If he knew about it, how would he dare to snatch the Rain Sovereign's woman? Dugu was speechless. She did not remember agreeing to be Ning Fan's woman. She also could not remember when Ning Fan was reasonable. The great elder of the Heaven Palace let out a long sigh. He struggled to stand up and looked at Ning Fan with shame. In the ancient heavenly court, Ning Fan saved his life. Today, however, he bullied the weak and attacked Dugu. Dugu was Ning Fan's woman. If I didn't remember wrongly, I saved your life in the ancient heavenly court, didn't I? Are you repaying my kindness with enmity today? Ning Fan's cold eyes swept across the great elder of the Heaven Palace. The shame on the great elder's face deepened. Without saying anything, he raised his hand and slammed it on the top of his head. As soon as the palm landed, his injuries immediately worsened and he coughed out blood. His cultivation base fell from the third heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm to the second heavenly layer. It is this old man who has let down the Rain Sovereign. There is nothing more to say. If the Rain Sovereign feels that the punishment is not severe enough, you can take this old man's life, and this old man will definitely not object. This person's words were firm. Although his actions were a bit despicable, he was still a person who dared to take responsibility for his actions. The Heavenly Emperor's eyes were filled with pain. The Great Elder was his right-hand man. Now that his cultivation level had fallen, the Heavenly Palace's strength would undoubtedly be greatly affected. Which hand hurt her? Ning Fan looked at the Great Elder of the Heavenly Palace and asked coldly. The Great Elder of the Heavenly Palace did not say anything. He gritted his teeth and raised his right arm. Chi! A sword beam formed from the energies of life and death slashed out and the Great Elder's right arm was instantly cut off. If a cultivator's arm was severed by the life and death chi, unless they were also proficient in the life and death chi, they would not be able to recover their arm. The Great Elder of the Sky Palace let out a muffled groan. His face became even paler, but there was a hint of relief in his eyes. He understood that when Ning Fan severed his arm, it meant that Ning Fan would not kill him. The surrounding cultivators were terrified and kept quiet out of fear. Rumor had it that the Rain Sovereign, Ning Fan, was a ruthless person. Now that they had witnessed it, they knew that the rumor was true. So ruthless. The Heavenly Emperor clenched his fists tightly but did not dare to say anything. Ling Huang, on the other hand, could not bear to watch anymore. He stood up and stared at Ning Fan with a dark expression. You are the divine sovereign of the Rain world. Why did you come to my sword world and behave atrociously? Aren't you looking down on us, the three sovereigns of the sword world? Ling Huang was the only one present who was not afraid of Ning Fan. Nonsense. He was not even afraid of the old devil. Why would he be afraid of Ning Fan? Not only was he not afraid of Ning Fan, but he was also very displeased with Ning Fan's despicable act of abducting little Dugu. His master was like that and so was his disciple. How hateful. Ning Fan. He is my father. Little Dugu suddenly grabbed Ning Fan's sleeves nervously, afraid that Ning Fan would offend her father. Ning Fan smiled and shook his head. Was he such an ungrateful person? Why would he use violence against his father-in-law? Ning Fan did not face the coldness of the cultivators of the Heavenly Palace. He put on a smile and cupped his fists at Ling Huang. Junior Ning Fan greets Ling Huang. Ling Huang was startled. His cold face relaxed a little. He had never thought that the arrogant and overbearing Ning Fan would have such a polite side to him. Ning Fan was so polite to him and even addressed himself as a junior. Compared to the shameless and wretched old devil, this young man was much more pleasing to the eye. Moreover, he always protected little Dugu. Unlike the old devil who harmed little Mei, the cultivators in the surroundings were also stunned. No one would have thought that the great devil Ning would have such a polite side. Cough cough. Fellow Taoist, Ning is the divine sovereign of the rain world. I am very grateful to you for saving my daughter. However, I should be the one to punish the great elder of the heavenly palace. I don't think fellow Taoist Ning needs to overstep your authority. Also, what you said just now, although my daughter has planted the one-heart sword seal with you, we are not married yet, right? Don't say such things in front of outsiders. Ning Fan's eyes flickered. He could see that Ling Huang's attitude towards him had changed. That was good. Ling Huang was little Dugu's father. Ning Fan did not want to become enemies with Ling Huang and put little Dugu in a difficult position. Besides, the meaning behind Ling Huang's words seemed to have acquiesced to the relationship between him and little Dugu. Ning Fan could hear it and the others could also hear it. Little Dugu could also hear it. Her pretty face blushed, but she did not say anything. She just looked at Ning Fan with gratitude. She was grateful that Ning Fan did not fall out with her father. Senior is right. I don't have the qualifications to interfere in the matters of the sword world. However, today's matter seems a little special. If I don't do anything, the snow border will face a great calamity. Ning Fan's tone was extremely indifferent. As soon as his voice fell, Ling Huang's expression changed. Great calamity? What great calamity? Little friend, what do you mean? Senior, you shouldn't be asking me. You should be asking the heavenly sovereign. Show yourself. Ning Fan's spirit sense spread out crazily. It carried a monstrous baleful qi and dyed the entire sky above the Ling Huang Great Swamp blood red. His spirit sense shook violently. Immediately, thousands of experts who were hiding in the sky revealed themselves. Most of them were experts of the heavenly palace. A few of them were helpers invited by the heavenly sovereign from the outside world. 3 of them were at the 5th break realm, 2 were at the 6th break realm and 1 was at the 7th break realm. These people were hiding in this place without being noticed by everyone. Naturally, they were up to no good. The expressions of all the cultivators in the surroundings changed. What is the heavenly sovereign trying to do by hiding so many experts? Ling Huang's eyes were filled with anger. The worry that he had in his heart just now had finally been confirmed. Tiani Xiong, are you trying to destroy my Ling Palace by bringing so many experts with you? This. The heavenly sovereign was so anxious that his forehead was full of sweat. If it wasn't for Ning Fan's intervention, he would really dare to destroy the Ling Palace. However, Ning Fan was here today. Moreover, he had a close relationship with the Ling Palace. Even if he had 10 guts, he would not dare to destroy the Ling Palace. He wanted to deny it. However, the truth was obvious. How could he deny it? Among the thousands of experts who were hiding, other than the few old monsters who were at the 5th break realm and above, the rest were all members of the heavenly palace. Any explanation would be futile. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that the heavenly palace had ulterior motives towards the Ling Palace. It was just that they were unlucky. Everything was going according to the plan flawlessly. However, Ning Fan had appeared. In front of an expert like Ning Fan, any conspiracy would be useless. Fellow Taoist Ning, how do you think we should deal with this matter? Ling Huang gritted his teeth. Previously, he had protected the heavenly palace because they were both sword sovereigns. Now that he thought about it, he realized that he was really stupid. The others were ready to eliminate him but he was still helping them earn money. How stupid! How stupid! Dugu's delicate body trembled in anger. If it wasn't for Ning Fan's appearance, the heavenly palace would have already destroyed the Ling Palace. Why? Why do the forces of the sword sovereigns have to kill each other? It's just that people are not satisfied. Don't be afraid. I'm here. As if he had seen through Dugu's thoughts, Ning Fan stretched out his hand and stroked her hair, telling her not to worry. Such an intimate action immediately made Dugu feel embarrassed and annoyed. However, she did not push his hand away. Ning Fan raised his head and looked at the 3 5th break realm experts, 2 6th break realm experts and 1 7th break realm expert in the sky. His eyes turned cold. What a coincidence. These people were the people he had saved in the ancient heavenly court. We didn't know about the relationship between the Rain Sovereign and the Ling Palace. If we knew, we definitely wouldn't dare to agree to the Heavenly Sovereign's request and attack the Ling Palace. Please punish us. The 6 old monsters gritted their teeth and looked at Ning Fan with shame. Then, they glared at the Heavenly Sovereign with hatred. Ning Fan had saved their lives, but they actually wanted to kill his father-in-law. This is really, originally, they would not dare to offend Ning Fan even if they had to die. However, they had offended Ning Fan in such a way. It was all the Heavenly Sovereign's fault. Tian Yixiong. If I don't die, I will certainly tear you into a million pieces. The 7th break realm expert glared at the Heavenly Sovereign with hatred, causing the latter to feel a chill down his spine. Cripple 1 level of your own cultivation base and leave an arm behind. Ning Fan's tone was indifferent, but it carried an irresistible might. He did not kill anyone just because Dugu did not like it. She did not like it. Thus, he did not want to show his bloodthirsty and merciless side in front of her. The 6 Void Fragmentation Realm old monsters revealed a look of relief. They had been to the ancient heavenly court before and they knew how ruthless Ning Fan was. He had massacred the entire immortal burial clan all by himself. He was a lawless devil lord. He was already showing mercy by only crippling one of their cultivation bases and taking one of their arms. The 6 old monsters gritted their teeth slightly. Then, all of them slammed their palms on the top of their heads, crippling one of their cultivation bases. After that, all of them stretched out an arm. Ning Fan flicked his finger and 6 black and white blades cut off one of their arms each. This was a punishment. All of you can leave now. Ning Fan said indifferently. The 6 of them felt as if they had just been pardoned. Without hesitation, they took out the gates of the Rain world and returned to their respective worlds. Only when they truly returned to their own worlds did they believe that their lives were saved. This is the might of the Rain Sovereign. With just his reputation, he could make the 7th break realm old monsters cripple their own cultivation base and give up one of their arms. The Heavenly Sovereign swallowed his saliva and looked at Ning Fan in fear. Ning Fan's reputation was even greater than that of ordinary rogue immortal old ancestors. He only needed to reveal his name. He did not need to do anything at all and the others were already afraid of him. The Heavenly Sovereign was filled with regret. How could he have offended such a person? If Dugu doesn't allow me to kill anyone, I won't. Tian Yixiong, Tian Yun and Shui, I will give you a chance to live. If you become my slaves, I can guarantee that you won't die. What? Become your slaves? Impossible. I'm one of the 3 emperors of the Sword World. Tian Yixiong was just about to retort when he broke out in a cold sweat. Unbeknownst to him, Ning Fan had already appeared behind him and was staring at him coldly. 3 breaths. Ning Fan uttered 2 words coldly. The meaning was clear. Within 3 breaths of time, if Tian Yixiong refused to comply, then he would die. A breath passed, and Tianyi's heart felt like it was being cut by a knife. 2 breaths passed, and Tian Yixiong's heart was in a mess. The 3rd breath, Tian Yixiong gritted his teeth and knelt in front of Ning Fan. His face was as pale as ashes. I am willing to be your slave. Very good. Ning Fan spread his spirit sense and planted a mental seal in Tian Yixiong's sea of consciousness. Then, he casually crippled Tian Yixiong's cultivation base to the first heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. Tian Yixiong sighed in despair, but he did not dare to resist. Then, Ning Fan glanced at Tian Yun Shui. With just a cold gaze, Tianyi Yunshui, the #1 prodigy of the sword world, was so scared that he wet his pants. I am willing to be a slave, I am willing to be a slave. Ning Fan frowned and looked at little Dugu. When he saw little Dugu gently shaking his head, his eyes were filled with reluctance. He could not help but sigh. Even though he hated this person, he could not bear to kill him in front of little Dugu and make her unhappy. He spread out his spirit sense and planted a mental seal in Tian Yixiong's sea of consciousness. Then, he casually crippled his cultivation base to the harmonious spirit realm. Forget it. Since I can't kill him, I should at least make him a harmonious spirit realm cripple. My life is saved. My life is saved. Tian Yixiong Yunshui was overjoyed. He kept kowtowing to Ning Fan to express his gratitude. His previous gentle demeanor was nowhere to be seen. From today onwards, you are the heavenly sovereign of the Heaven Palace. Ning Fan looked at the great elder of the Ling Palace and said indifferently. The great elder of the Ling Palace had also gone to the ancient heavenly court and was saved by Ning Fan. He was a third heavenly layer void fragmentation realm cultivator. By doing so, Ning Fan wanted to give the Heaven Palace to the Ling Palace. This was the betrothal gift. I am willing to marry little Dugu with the heaven border as the betrothal gift. Sovereign Ling, please grant my wish. Ning Fan bowed deeply towards Sovereign Ling. What he said shocked all the cultivators of the sword world who were present. The heaven border as the betrothal gift. The heaven border as the betrothal gift. The Rain Sovereign was really generous. He subdued the forces of the entire heaven border with just a wave of his hand and used a third of the forces of the sword world as the betrothal gift to marry a woman. Sovereign Ling's eyes were filled with astonishment. Even though he had heard about Ning Fan's strength, seeing it once was better than hearing about it 100 times. Today, when he saw Ning Fan waving his hand and the shrouding heaven palace with his own eyes, he was naturally astonished. Besides, he also heard that Ning Fan used the entire heaven border as the betrothal gift to marry little Dugu. This betrothal gift was really too heavy. For a moment, he did not know how to answer Ning Fan. Countless female cultivators looked at little Dugu with envy. If they could also meet a man in their lives and use the entire heaven border as the betrothal gift to marry him, how blissful would that be? Little Dugu blushed under everyone's stares. She let out a soft snort and glared at Ning Fan in embarrassment. I didn't kill anyone today. Are you happy? Ning Fan said with a smile. Happy your ass. Little Dugu turned her head away. At the moment when she turned her head, her eyes were filled with happiness. This damned little devil Ning. Humph, looking at little Dugu's shy expression, Ning Fan could not help but recall the first time he met this girl. Her alienation and indifference made him burst into laughter. Suddenly, Ning Fan raised his head coldly. An old man riding a crane slowly appeared in the sky. His white hair fluttered in the wind, and his eyes revealed a look of regret. I am Su Daozi of the Heaven Celestial Realm, and I am on good terms with the Heaven's Edge. I wonder if the Rain Sovereign can give me some face and release the Heaven's Edge. As soon as the crane-riding old man finished speaking, the expressions of countless sword world cultivators changed. Su Daozi was one of the 3 great loose immortals of the Heaven Immortal world. During the last trip to the Heavenly Court, the Heaven Immortal world had only sent one rogue immortal, Master Void Dao. The reason why he didn't go was because he was in death seclusion, comprehending life and death. It was said that after coming out of seclusion, Su Daozi's comprehension of life and death was no weaker than the old primitive emperor of the demon world. His strength was among the best in the 9 realms. He was actually going to stand up for Sky Palace. A hint of joy suddenly appeared in the Heavenly Emperor's hollow eyes as he shouted, Senior, save me. He had no idea what kind of relationship Su Daozi had with Heaven Border. However, he was naturally happy that someone was standing up for Sky Border. No way. Ning Fan's tone was cold, leaving no room for negotiation. Is that so? Then, this old man will have a taste of fellow Daoist Ning's skills. I want to see if fellow Daoist is really as the rumors say, that you are already invincible in the 9 realms. Su Daozi leaped down from the white crane. As soon as he took a step forward, a lotus that was half black and half white appeared beneath his feet. Then, he took another step forward and another lotus appeared. His body moved swiftly and he had already taken a few thousand steps in an instant, giving birth to 1,000 lotuses. Immortal technique, lotus blooming step by step. Among the 1,000 lotuses, the old man's figure flashed and he looked down at Ning Fan from above. His eyes were filled with arrogance. He did not believe that Ning Fan really had the terrifying strength that the rumors say. The 1,000 lotuses were ignited with lotus flames at the same time. A terrifying pressure slowly rose from the old man's body. The cultivators of the sword world in all directions were overwhelmed by the pressure. Those whose cultivation bases were not strong enough all fainted. Since we can't see eye to eye, let's fight. If you can win against me by even half a move, the heaven border will belong to you. Su Daozi said coldly. Chapter 687. Little Devil Ning, if you don't have the confidence to win, you can go find your master. He will help you. Little Dugu's lips moved closer to Ning Fan's ear and whispered. The faint aroma caused Ning Fan's mind to sway. Inadvertently touching Little Dugu's soft lips, the wet and cool touch made Ning Fan's eyes even more gloomy. Don't worry. Ning Fan nodded at Dugu. Then, he leaped into the sky. Looking at Su Daozi, who was surrounded by thousands of lotus flowers, Ning Fan's eyes revealed a solemn expression. Immortal technique, lotus blossoming step, these 1,000 lotuses could be used for both offense and defense. They could also increase Su Dao's aura and replenish his magic power. Su Daozi was no weaker than the old Yuan emperor when he used the life and death art. Ning Fan knew that the reason why he killed countless rogue immortals in the ancient heavenly court that day was all because of the might of the weapon disintegration style. Due to the excessive use of the weapon disintegration style, there was a huge sequela in his body. Demonic will. Even though the devil's sense was already sealed, as long as Ning Fan uses the weapon disintegration style again, the devil's sense would erupt again. He couldn't use the weapon disintegration style, he had to use other means to defeat Su Daozi. It wasn't just winning by 1 or 2 moves, it was a complete victory. Even if he didn't have the weaponry dissolution style, he still had absolute confidence. With a single step, he transformed into a black robe. Raising his hand, he extracted and devoured the soul. After displaying the incarnation technique, Ning Fan's aura force instantly skyrocketed to the middle stage of the 9-breaking realm. After using the soul extracting technique, Ning Fan's magic power had increased tremendously. He was now a peak 9-break realm cultivator. The difference between his magic power and Su Daozi's was almost negligible. Master Su's eyes trembled, and his expression instantly turned serious. He seemed to have underestimated Ning Fan. Ning Fan's current magical strength was not inferior to ordinary rogue immortals. Ning Fan was worthy of his attention. Immortal art, crow slaughter. Su Daozi's 10 fingers formed seals, and countless black crows flew out of his body. These crows were formed from the Tao of Death. If a low-grade cultivator were to be struck by this black crow, they would either be killed or severely injured. Even an 8-shatterer cultivator would die if he was surrounded by the crows. Senior Su Daozi is so powerful. He actually executed 2 celestial arts in succession. His magic power is so thick. It's said that Senior Su Daozi is already close to becoming an immortal. Looks like it's true, discussions broke out on the ground. In the sky above, Ning Fan's eyes were solemn as he looked at the sky full of black crows that were rushing towards him. The black crows emitted a dazzling black light. Their bodies were covered in all kinds of ancient runes and emitted a dense death aura. The aura of death spread out, and the snowy mountains turned black in an instant. Many low-level cultivators were enveloped by the death chi, and their vitality rapidly flowed away. Even Ling Huang and Miao Huang were unable to resist the aura of death emitted by this immortal art. Dugu was enveloped by the aura of death, but there was a mysterious force in her body that protected her. It was truly mysterious. Ning Fan's eyes gradually turned cold. He could ignore anyone else in this place who was corroded by the death chi except for Dugu. Even though Dugu was protected by a mysterious force and was not injured, Ning Fan was truly enraged. Infinite vortex. All of a sudden, a gigantic illusory whirlpool appeared beneath Ning Fan's feet. Then, a second whirlpool that was even larger than the first one appeared. Third, fourth, fifth, countless illusory whirlpools appeared beneath Ning Fan's feet, startling Su Daozi. Then, he shook his head and sneered. Vortex technique, huh? The vortex technique of the Three Worlds sect is only slightly more powerful than the first sect master. The rest of them are not worth mentioning. Your vortex technique is also. Just as his voice fell, his expression changed greatly. He saw black crows rushing towards Ning Fan one after another. Before they could even touch him, they were all sucked into the illusory whirlpool beneath his feet. What Ning Fan displayed was undoubtedly the spatial vortex technique. However, the spatial vortex technique he displayed could even take away an immortal technique. Void Vortex Realm. This young man has actually cultivated the vortex technique to the void vortex realm. No, it's not a true void vortex. However, this technique is already comparable to a low-grade immortal technique. Immortal techniques also had different grades. The lotus steps and crow killing technique that Su Daozi displayed were both low-grade immortal techniques. If the vortex technique is cultivated to the highest level, it would be a mid-grade immortal technique. After returning to Yu country for a month, Ning Fan had devoured 37 pieces of world creation stones. Currently, 38 out of the 72 floating continents in the void vortex heaven had turned illusory. The destructive power of this technique was already comparable to a low-grade immortal technique. If one is careless, even a rogue immortal might be directly sucked and killed by Ning Fan. After the black crows that filled the sky were sucked away, Ning Fan raised his hand and pointed at Su Daozi. A massive illusory whirlpool immediately appeared beneath Su Daozi's feet. Su Daozi's eyes widened in surprise. Without saying a word, he retreated at top speed and managed to avoid being sucked away by the whirlpool. However, his back was already drenched in cold sweat. He stared at Ning Fan in disbelief. He could not imagine that Ning Fan could actually cultivate the secret technique of the heaven immortal world to such a level. Seeing that Ning Fan was about to summon the second illusory whirlpool to attack him, Su Daozi gritted his teeth and flicked his sleeves. All the black and white flames on the thousands of lotus flowers flew towards Ning Fan. The black and white flames were extremely strange. A moment ago, they were still 10,000 zhang away. In just an instant, they appeared in front of Ning Fan and turned into a sea of flames, engulfing Ning Fan. Ning Fan stood in the middle of the sea of flames and casually walked out of it. The black and white flames were enough to severely injure ordinary rogue immortals. However, they were useless against Ning Fan. The minor five elements physique was at the perfection realm. Unless it was an immortal flame, it would not be able to hurt Ning Fan at all. Devour. Under Su Daozi's incredulous gaze, Ning Fan devoured all the black and white flames in a single gulp. Then, he lifted his finger and pointed at Su Daozi. 9 black fire dragons shot out from his finger and turned into an endless sea of flames, engulfing Su Daozi. The thousands of lotus flowers were all incinerated. It was an immortal flame that had reached the peak of low grade 8. As soon as the flames appeared, Su Daozi's soul almost left his body. He had a premonition that if he does not use all of his means, he would certainly be burned to death in this sea of flames. Dao Ling, please. Su Daozi took out a water blue jade token that was filled with cracks. He clenched his teeth and crushed the jade token. The water blue light shone from the jade token and condensed into the shadow of a unicorn whose body was completely blue. The unicorn opened its mouth and breathed out layers of cold mist which actually extinguished the immortal flames. Su Daozi looked at Ning Fan with lingering fear. He gritted his teeth and said to the unicorn, "Dao Ling, let's join forces and defeat this man." Roar! The unicorn nodded and let out a roar, seemingly agreeing to Su Daozi's request. It was a Dao Ling, which was a beast seed condensed from Dao power. Ordinary means could not hurt it at all. Its cultivation base was comparable to a rogue immortal. If it joins forces with Su Daozi, they might not necessarily not have the confidence to defeat Ning Fan. It was arrogant and looked down on all living beings. As a Dao Ling, once it is chosen, it would even have the qualifications to control the heavenly Dao. 2 against 1. This reign sovereign is in danger. Some sword cultivators of the Ling Palace said worriedly. They still had a good impression of Ning Fan. After all, he had overturned the heaven border and lifted the prestige of the Ling Palace. Moreover, he was going to be the son-in-law of Ling Huang in the future. Little devil Ning, you can't lose. Du Guqiao stood in the wind, aloof from the world. She raised her head and looked at Ning Fan expectantly. She believed that Ning Fan would not lose. She knew how much effort that stubborn young man had put in to reach his current level. Therefore, he certainly would not lose. He definitely would not lose. Dao Ling, huh? Ning Fan patted his storage pouch and raised his hand to take out an item. The crowd could not see clearly what it was. All they saw was a ray of black light flashing across the sky and dashing towards the unicorn. The arrogant expression on the unicorn's face instantly disappeared. What replaced it was indescribable fear. Without saying anything, it fled for its life. How is this possible? The Dao Ling is arrogant by nature and it doesn't know most of the magic treasures and abilities. Why would it show a look of fear? Why would it flee? What kind of magic treasure did Ning Fan use? Su Daozi also wore a surprised expression. At the next moment, all of his astonishment turned into unimaginable shock. In the vast sky, a ray of black light was already approaching the unicorn at an unimaginable speed. The unicorn wanted to flee, but the moment it turned around, the ray of black light caught up to it. As the ray of black light cut through the air, the unicorn, which was a Dao Ling, was actually cut into 2 halves and died instantly. Its corpse turned into Dao power and dissipated, leaving not a single trace behind. After the ray of black light killed the Dao Ling, it returned to Ning Fan's hand. Only then did everyone see that it was a magic treasure that was entirely black and shaped like a pair of scissors. Black Devil Scissors. This was a treasure that the old devil had refined with all his efforts. It could even cut Dao power into pieces. This treasure was originally given to Moksha sovereign by the old devil. Now, it belonged to Ning Fan. Dao. The Dao Ling actually died in an instant. What kind of magic treasure is that? How could it be so powerful? Su Daozi's expression actually revealed a hint of fear. Of course, he did not know that the grade of the Black Devil Scissors was not high. It was already impressive enough for it to be able to destroy 8 Dao power. The reason why it could instantly kill the unicorn was because the unicorn was a Dao Ling and this Black Devil Scissors specialized in destroying Dao power. Fellow Daoist Ning, I was too reckless today. I will leave the sword world now and will no longer interfere in the disputes of the sword world. Su Daozi's heart was filled with fear. At this moment, all he wanted to do was to leave. How could he still care about helping Tianjiang? Ning Fan stared at Su Daozi coldly and directly locked his killing intent on him. You can come and go as you wish. How can there be such a good thing in this world? If I let you leave the sword world safely today, will there be any Tom, Dick, or Harry who will come and help my enemies the next time? You won't be able to leave. The ancient heavenly court saving the cultivators of the 9 worlds was a favor. Leaving Su Daozi alive today was a show of power. Using both kindness and power was the right way to go. Since Su Daozi came to cause trouble today, Ning Fan certainly would not let him go. It was a good opportunity to use him to establish his prestige. If Ning Fan's skills were inferior and Su Daozi was the one who won, how would Su Daozi deal with Ling Dian? There was no such thing as reason in the cultivation world. Whoever's fist was bigger would be the reason. This was also taught by the old devil sect. Ning Fan, don't you dare bully me too much. If you anger me, I will certainly make you regret it. Su Daozi pretended to be arrogant, but inwardly, he was already extremely afraid. So what if I bully you? Who do you think I am? Ning Fan threw his head back and laughed loudly. The baleful qi around his body soared to the sky. He was a devil cultivator. Why would he need to reason with others? If he bullies his enemies, then so be it. Why should he be soft-hearted? That baleful qi contained the lives of tens of rogue immortals. When he realized this, Su Daozi's legs nearly gave out from fear. The lives of tens of rogue immortals. Ning Fan actually had the lives of tens of rogue immortals in his hands. Could it be that the rumor that Ning Fan had once fought against a life immortal realm expert is true? How could he possibly defeat such a Ning Fan? Su Daozi was filled with regret. Why did he have to stand up for the heaven border? He just heard that there was a second secret place of the sword ancestor hidden in the heaven border. That was why he wanted to plot against the heaven border. As for the nonsense about him having a good relationship with the heaven border, it was pure nonsense. It was just to deceive others and give him a legitimate reason to do so. Originally, he wanted to protect the heaven border and the heaven palace. Moreover, he wanted to stay in the heaven border to search for the secret place with the identity of an old friend of the heaven palace. However, he did not expect that his greed would actually cost him his own life. At this moment, he was already in a difficult position. Only by fighting with his life on the line would he have a chance of survival. Su Daozi took out a golden jade seal magic treasure and waved it in the air. Immediately, the jade seal turned into an ancient golden palace and fell from the sky, crashing towards Ning Fan. Su Daozi, on the other hand, leaped onto his white crane without saying a word. With a wave of his hand, he took out a jade slip that led to the realm gate and crushed it. No matter what, I must escape back to the heaven immortal world first. This is... Ning Fan raised his head and looked at the golden palace. To his surprise, he felt a sense of familiarity. That sense of familiarity originated from Emperor Xia's sword intent in his body. The power of this treasure was not bad. It might not be able to hurt him, but it was enough to delay him for a while. If Ning Fan avoids this treasure, it would fall towards the countless cultivators of the sword world below and kill countless of them. Dugu was one of them. Su Daozi was betting that Ning Fan would let him go in order to save his life. Sometimes, this kind of action was the righteous path. However, in the matters of cultivation, survival was always the priority. Righteousness and evil were just different standpoints. Ning Fan, of course, would not let Su Daozi go in order to resist this treasure. He patted the devil's sealing pouch and summoned a devil. Then, he gave an irrefutable order. Big Head, you block this treasure. No one in the sword world is allowed to get hurt. Don't worry, Master. I will definitely complete this mission with honor. I will do my best until my last breath. Big Head burst into laughter. The devil chi around his body billowed into the sky. He threw out hundreds of punches in a row, forcing the jade seal magic treasure back to its original form. He was extremely pleased with himself. Right now, he only wanted to do one thing, and that was to make a contribution. He could be considered to have seen through his master's personality. As long as he makes enough contributions, his master would certainly not treat him shabbily. At that time, if he wants to change his name, his master would certainly agree to it. If he wanted to learn his master's great technique of picking up girls, his master would certainly not hesitate to teach him. A rogue devil. The Rain Sovereign actually has a rogue devil as his servant. Countless old monsters of the sword world were astonished. Only the old monsters above the void fragmentation realm were not surprised. The news of Ning Fan having a rogue devil as his servant had already spread far and wide after the ancient heavenly court was closed. Of course, it was only spread among the void fragmentation realm circle. Low-level cultivators would not be able to know so much information about it. With the rogue devil blocking the magic treasure, Ning Fan did not waste any time at all. He took a step forward and turned into countless black shadows, disappearing from his original spot. The black shadows swept across the vast sky towards Su Daozi, who was half a step into the realm gate. In an instant, they engulfed him in layers of black shadows. Su Daozi's soul almost left his body and he cursed loudly. Despicable! How despicable! He actually summoned a rogue devil to help him. He did not even think about who was the one who first asked the Tao spirit to help him and who was the despicable one. Under the attack of the black shadows, Su Daozi was instantly severely injured. He coughed out blood and fell off the white crane. As for the realm gate that he summoned, it was destroyed by the black shadows in an instant. With a loud bang, Su Daozi's body fell heavily onto a snowy mountain below. The momentum of his fall directly flattened the entire mountain. He lay on the rubble, coughing out blood non-stop. The black shadows condensed again. A young man in black robes stepped on his dantian with a cold and emotionless expression. With just a single step, his primordial spirit would perish. Being my slave means that you won't die. Today, I don't want to kill anyone. However, if you don't know how to appreciate my kindness, I don't mind spilling blood. Ning Fan exerted a little force on his foot. Su Daozi's face immediately turned pale. He was just half a step away from becoming an immortal. Of course, he was unwilling to become Ning Fan's servant. However, if he does not agree to Ning Fan's request, he would die. Not to mention becoming an immortal, his life would be in danger. 3 breaths. When the same words fell into Su Daozi's ears, it made him break out in cold sweat. He did not wait for Ning Fan to count to 3 because he was not sure if Ning Fan had the patience to count to 3. I agree to be your slave. However, I have a condition. You can't stop me from becoming an immortal and ascending. After all, I'm already on the verge of ascension. It doesn't matter. If you become an immortal and ascend, you will still be my immortal slave. Ning Fan's expression was cold. He spread out his spirit sense and planted a mental seal in Su Daozi's sea of consciousness. Obtaining another rogue immortal as a servant was not a bad gain. Now, tell me the reason why you are plotting against the heaven border. Don't force me to search your soul and memory. Don't tell me that you have a good relationship with the heaven border. I don't believe it. Ning Fan withdrew his black robes and turned back into his white robes. Then, he looked at Su Daozi quietly. Right from the beginning, he could tell that Su Daozi's words were deceptive. If he really had a good relationship with the heaven border, why would he watch Ning Fan cripple the cultivation base of the heavenly sovereign and the others and plant a mental seal in them before taking action? If he really had a good relationship with Ning Fan, he would probably have taken action at the first moment. The reason why Su Daozi did not take action until now was just because he wanted to observe Ning Fan's means. Su Daozi smiled bitterly. He thought to himself that even though his master's bone age is young, he is really too shrewd. He can even see through such an illogical thing. After letting out a sigh, Su Daozi recorded all the information he knew into a jade slip and passed it to Ning Fan. Ning Fan scanned the jade slip with his spirit sense and kept it. His expression was as calm as an ancient well. Then, he brought Su Daozi back to the outside of the Sword Ancestor's secret place. Each of the sword cultivators of the Ling Palace looked at Ning Fan with fanatical admiration. As one of the 3 great rogue immortals of the Heaven Immortal world, Su Daozi was just half a step away from becoming an immortal. However, he was forcefully taken in as a slave by Ning Fan. Ning Fan's strength had been proven in front of countless people. With the heaven border as a betrothal gift and a rogue immortal as a slave, the 9 worlds would probably be shaken once again. Little Devil Ning, are you hurt? Little Dugu hurriedly ran towards Ning Fan and carefully examined him. Big Head was stunned at first. Then, he looked at Ning Fan with eyes filled with admiration. Oh my gosh. Master managed to deceive another mistress. He's really amazing. I wish I could have that kind of charm too. Chapter 688. After the chaos in the heavenly border, the trial of the sword ancestor would probably not be able to continue. In a certain palace above the great desolate lake, Ning Fan and Sovereign Ling had a long conversation before leaving. He gave the heavenly border to Sovereign Ling as a betrothal gift. He temporarily lent Su Daozi to the Ling Palace to unite the remaining forces in the heavenly border. When he walked out of the palace, it was snowing heavily and the night was dark. Under a white plum tree, a lady stood quietly, waiting for Ning Fan to leave the palace. She was none other than little Dugu. What did my father say to you? He discussed with me about completely subduing the heavenly border. Then, he told me a lot of things related to you. Your hobbies, your personality, your... Humph. Why did my father tell you everything? Little Dugu gently snorted. Her eyes were filled with joy. I heard from your father that you hate killing. Ning Fan looked at little Dugu with interest. From what he knew, little Dugu was not a simple person. She was quite intelligent, had extraordinary combat power, had astonishing sword techniques and was very clear about her likes and dislikes. She was not Jiha. She was not a naive woman. She actually hated killing. It was really interesting. Every time I see a massacre, I feel very uncomfortable. My heart hurts. Little Dugu said indifferently, as if she was talking about something that she did not really care about. Your heart hurts. Do you want me to help you take a look? Ning Fan looked at little Dugu's perky breasts. He raised his body and stretched out his hand, pretending that he wanted to check the position of little Dugu's heart. Little Dugu glared at Ning Fan unhappily and said, Go to hell, little devil Ning. If you want to take advantage of me, can't you find a better reason? I'm not sick nor injured. Don't worry. It's just that there's a force in my heart. It doesn't like killing but it will also protect me. Ning Fan's brows slightly knitted. He could not help but recall the scene during the day. When Su Daozi's black crow technique covered the sky with death chi, even Sovereign Ling and the others could not resist it. However, little Dugu was not injured at all under the attack of the death chi. Is it the mysterious force that she mentioned that is protecting her? I just wanted to tease you just now. Now, I really want to check your body. Ning Fan took a step forward and held little Dugu's soft waist with one hand. His other hand caressed her lower abdomen and slowly moved upwards. Shameless. Little Dugu's delicate body tensed up. The side of her face that was not tainted by a single speck of dust was flushed red. She pushed Ning Fan away and ran away like she was avoiding a wolf. Your master is waiting for you. Go quickly. I'm really fine. Trust me. Dugu's voice could be heard faintly in the darkness of the night. It was very pleasant to hear. Are you really all right? If so, I'll believe you. Ning Fan's brows loosened slightly. His mind wandered and he closed his eyes. The figure of an extremely wretched and shameless old man slowly appeared in his mind. Yes, little Dugu was right. It was time to look for Master and fulfill the promise from back then. Without little Dugu's presence, Ning Fan's expression completely disappeared. His expression was cold and emotionless. At this moment, he was no longer pretending. He was just a person who had lost all 7 emotions. He had said that even though he had lost his 7 emotions, he was not a heartless person. Even if he had to lie, even if he had to hide, he would still smile at the person he loved. With a flash of his body, Ning Fan disappeared into the darkness of the night. 10 million li north, there was an ice-snow sword city. There were many cultivators guarding the city. All of them were sword cultivators of the Ling Palace. They seemed to be people sent by little Dugu. It seemed like little Dugu was really keeping her promise and helping him protect the old devil. Even though the old devil had his own brilliant plan to get Emperor Xia as his bodyguard. Ning Fan did not know about this until Emperor Xia sent him a letter. In a cold room, the old devil was sitting alone on a bed. Emperor Xia was not present. There was a chessboard on the bed. An oil lamp was lit beside it. The old devil was holding a chess piece in his hand. He was playing chess with himself like a high scholar. Suddenly, a breeze blew in the cold room. A young man in white robes appeared. The old devil pretended to be profound and said, "Disciple, you're here. I haven't seen you for many years. You're already at the 6th Shatterer realm. Not bad, not bad. You didn't waste my efforts to nurture you in the past." Ning Fan looked at the old devil who was behaving like this. At first, he was stunned and then speechless. What was the old devil playing at? Imitating someone else's master, pretending to be a senior expert, and acting serious? It seemed like the old devil had never been serious since the day Ning Fan met him. "Disciple, why are you still in a daze? Come and play a game of chess with me. I'm indifferent to fame and fortune. I'm far away from the world. On a snowy night under a green lamp, it's really a good thing to have a good disciple to play chess with." The old devil's scholarly appearance made Ning Fan speechless. Ning Fan did not say much. He sat on the bed, facing the old devil across the chessboard. The old devil's scalp suddenly felt itchy. He wanted to scratch it, but he was afraid that it would ruin his image as a senior expert, so he resisted the urge. With a wave of his sleeve, all the black and white chess pieces returned to the jar. Then, the old devil narrowed his eyes and said to Ning Fan indifferently, "You take the white chess piece." In ancient times, the old devil's action was to let Ning Fan take the initiative. After all, he was the master. How could he take advantage of his disciple? If that's the case, then this disciple won't be polite. Ning Fan smiled. He was really not going to be polite. He took the white chess piece and played 10 games with the old devil. In 9 games, the old devil was defeated. With Ning Fan's chess technique and wisdom, even if he played against the Heavenly Emperor, he would have a 50-50 chance of winning. Against the old devil, it would be a complete one-sided slaughter. The 10th game was about to end. The old devil had lost to the point where he couldn't bear it anymore. The old devil was angry. He could no longer pretend to be a senior expert. "Motherfucker. I'm your master. Will you die if you let me win 2 games? Before the 10th game was over, the old devil flipped the table. "This game is a draw." He smiled in an extremely wretched manner. Ning Fan smiled but did not say anything. If he didn't kill the old devil 10 games in a row, the old devil would probably continue to act pretentious. The scholarly old devil gave him goosebumps. Disciple greets master. After not seeing you for 100 years, master's complexion seems to be good. Ning Fan carefully observed the old devil. The old devil's current cultivation base had already recovered to the peak of void fragmentation. Without a doubt, it was definitely the help of Wei Xian and the others. As for the devil poison in the old devil's body, it had already been removed. Thinking about it, the old devil had Emperor Xia by his side. What kind of poison could stop him? He didn't want to remove the absolute Yin poison in the past because he was disheartened and wanted to spend the rest of his life in Yu country until the old devil met Ning Fan, another descendant of the Yin-Yang evil vein, and saw the hope of reviving his wife. Therefore, he wanted to fight again, all for the sake of awakening his beloved. Your complexion doesn't look so good. 7 emotions extinguished, reincarnation abandoned, devil intent born. What exactly happened? The old devil looked at Ning Fan with an extremely dignified expression. There was no trace of wretchedness on his face, only worry. It's just a small matter. Master, Han Yetian has died in my hands. Please restrain your grief. Ning Fan sighed. I know, he walked the wrong path. It was the path he chose. Since he made a choice, he must bear the consequences. The old devil's eyes gradually turned cloudy, as if he was lonely. Oh right, the Dao soil should be completely unsealed, right? Ning Fan changed the topic. It's completely unsealed. The old devil's eyes suddenly lit up. His spittle flew everywhere as he spoke incessantly. Speaking of this Dao soil, it's a good thing. Normally, only the great powers with Shikong can get a little of it. This old man took advantage of the seclusion of the pure Yang sect master to kill his way into the sect and seized the heaven-avoiding coffin and an acre of Dao soil, causing chaos in the sect. The old devil was in high spirits when he talked about his glorious achievements in the past. It seemed like he would talk for 3 days and 3 nights. Ning Fan shook his head and decisively interrupted the old devil's reminiscing of the past. How do you plant a Dao fruit? All of a sudden, the old devil's excited expression was replaced by a look of pity. He heaved a long sigh and finally said, the way to plant a Dao fruit is the same as the way mortals plant. You need to sow seeds. There are 2 sources of seeds. One is the Dao power seed, which is very difficult to collect. The other is to steal the immortal seed from a cultivator's body. All cultivators born in the 4 heavens have the immortal seed. Immortal seed? All of a sudden, Ning Fan recalled something. That year, when he was still in the sinister Sparrow sect, he accidentally entered the northern heaven and met the Tablet Palm Immortal Emperor. The Tablet Palm Immortal Emperor was surprised that Ning Fan didn't have an immortal seed in his body. Ning Fan wasn't a cultivator of the 4 heavens, so he didn't have an immortal seed in his body. So, he must use the yin and yang energy to condense the yin-yang Dao seed to help the old devil plant the Dao fruit. The old devil's next words confirmed Ning Fan's thoughts. He handed Ning Fan 3 pieces of black stones and a jade slip and explained. This jade slip records the specific method of condensing a Dao seed. This stone is called the Dao seed stone. It is very precious. Your cultivation base is still low. You must borrow the power of the Dao seed stone to have a chance of condensing a Dao seed. You only have a chance, but that chance is very slim. The Dao seed stone is very precious. Even with this old man's connections, I can only get 3 of them. You only have 3 chances to condense the yin-yang Dao seed. If you fail. The old devil revealed a bitter expression. If he fails, his 100 years of waiting would be in vain. Master, don't worry. This disciple will do his best. Ning Fan took the Dao seed stone and the jade slip and entered the profound Yin world. 3 days later, Ning Fan returned to the outside world. His face was as pale as a sheet of paper. He sighed to the old devil who had a dark expression. I failed. Condensing a Dao seed was very dangerous. If it fails, the backlash would be very heavy. The success rate of condensing a Dao seed was very low. A void fragmentation expert's success rate was not more than 1 in 20. 3 Dao seed stones, 3 chances to condense a Dao seed, but none of them succeeded. The old devil instantly aged a lot. He closed his eyes and sighed in despair. Then, he looked at the pale Ning Fan and patted the latter's shoulder. You've worked hard. Go and have a rest. Don't leave any hidden injuries. This old man wants to be alone for a while. Looking at the old devil, Ning Fan's heart suddenly ached. The old devil had waited for so many years just to revive his true love. The key to that revival was a yin-yang Dao fruit. Ning Fan was the old devil's hope, but now, he had failed to live up to his expectations. Ning Fan didn't leave. He looked at the old devil and suddenly said, the second source of a Dao seed is an immortal seed. I don't know if I have the chance to condense an immortal seed and use it as a seed to plant a yin-yang Dao fruit. The old devil's eyes flashed when he heard this. Then, he became angry. Nonsense. Ning Fan nodded. Looking at the old devil's angry face, it seemed like there was really a way to get the yin-yang Dao seed. Disciple will go and rest first. Without asking the old devil about the immortal seed, Ning Fan left the cold room and flew towards the peak of a certain snow mountain. On the peak of that snow mountain, a golden-eyed sword cultivator stood alone. Ning Fan greets Senior Xia. Ning Fan bowed respectfully. What's the matter? Emperor Xia's tone was a little cold. His back was facing Ning Fan and he didn't even bother to turn around. He looked at the falling snow in the sky. His back seemed a little bleak. There was a feeling of longing that was slowly sublimating and suppressing around him. This made Ning Fan a little surprised. A person like Emperor Xia also had someone he missed. Who could it be? This junior wants to ask senior how to condense an immortal seed. Ning Fan explained. Oh. You want to condense an immortal seed and obtain a 50% chance of becoming an immortal? Emperor Xia turned around and looked at Ning Fan with disdain. Cultivators in the four heavens were born with an immortal seed. Cultivators in the lower world could condense it after birth. Those who had an immortal seed had a 50% higher chance of becoming an immortal than those who didn't. However, those who relied on an immortal seed to become an immortal would never be as powerful as those who didn't have an immortal seed. When those who had an immortal seed become an immortal, the immortal seed would absorb 30% of the cultivator's cultivation base. After that, the immortal seed would disappear. This was the price to pay for opportunistic means. However, for that 50% chance of success, many people would pay any price just to condense an immortal seed. Emperor Xia was thinking. Is Ning Fan a short-sighted person who doesn't like to give up on his cultivation base for a 50% chance of becoming an immortal? Is becoming an immortal really so obsessed? Humph. What's the big deal about becoming an immortal? Noticing the disdain in Emperor Xia's eyes, Ning Fan was stunned. Then, he explained. This junior wants to condense an immortal seed not to become an immortal but to use the immortal seed as a Dao seed to plant the yin-yang Dao fruit and save Master's wife. What? Using the immortal seed as a Dao seed? Why you? Nonsense. Even Emperor Xia said that Ning Fan was being ridiculous. Ning Fan was stunned. Then, his expression turned solemn. He thought to himself. Could it be that this method has a great hidden danger? Otherwise, why did Master and Emperor Xia say that it's nonsense? Senior, may I ask if there will be any side effects if I use the immortal seed as a Dao seed? Don't you know? Even though the immortal seed is detestable, if the person who possesses it gives up on it, the consequences will be even more severe. Everyone only has one chance to possess an immortal seed in their life. If you first condense the immortal seed and then give up on it, not only will you not be able to increase your chances of becoming an immortal by 50%, your chances of becoming an immortal will also be lower by 50% compared to ordinary people. Do you know what this means? Emperor Xia shook his head and sighed. Ning Fan frowned. Of course, he knew what this meant. The chances of an ordinary person becoming an immortal was less than 1 in 10,000. If they lose their immortal seed, their chances of becoming an immortal would be reduced by another 50%. However, if there were other methods to increase the chances of success, this hidden danger would not be a concern. As long as he could help Old Devil achieve his wish and save Master's wife, it would not matter even if his chances of becoming an immortal were lower. Senior, if you know the method to condense an immortal seed, please teach me this technique. Ning Fan said with a serious expression. Of course, I know this technique. However, do you really want to learn it? Aren't you afraid that you won't be able to become an immortal in this lifetime because of losing this 50% chance? Emperor Xia looked at Ning Fan meaningfully. So what? Ning Fan said proudly. Well said. Emperor Xia raised his head and laughed. For the first time, he found Ning Fan pleasing to the eye. No matter how high Ning Fan's potential was and how much fate brought them together, he only looked at Ning Fan slightly. His attitude towards Ning Fan was still as cold as before. Ning Fan's current attitude of looking down on the path of immortality had won Emperor Xia's appreciation. So what if he became an immortal? Too many people pursued fame and fortune in order to become an immortal, forgetting their roots. What's so good about immortality? Ning Fan was willing to give up his immortal seed for his master. His action had won Emperor Xia's admiration. Becoming an immortal was just a means. It was not the end nor the goal. If one only cultivated for the sake of longevity, then this path of cultivation was completely meaningless. Too many people had lived their entire lives but they never thought about what they were living for. Take it. Emperor Xia threw a jade slip to Ning Fan and laughed. Then, he turned into a ray of sword light and disappeared without a trace. Ning Fan took the jade slip and cupped his fists in the direction where Emperor Xia left. Then, he scanned the jade slip with his spirit sense. Without saying anything, he entered the profound Yin world. 10 days later, Ning Fan came to find the old devil with a brocade box. He handed the box to the old devil and said with a faint smile, "You have the Tao seed." The old devil took the brocade box and placed it on the table at the side without even looking at it. His cloudy eyes trembled as he looked at Ning Fan with a complicated expression. There was no joy, only anger and heartache. "Little Ning, you are taking your immortal path as a joke." "Nonsense." The old devil clenched his fists tightly and his knuckles cracked. He was feeling guilty and blaming himself. He was afraid that Ning Fan would not be able to become an immortal in this lifetime because of what happened today and his future would be ruined. "Master, have you forgotten what you taught me in the past? If you can't get something, you can only snatch it. If you can't snatch it, you can only snatch it by force. If I continue to snatch it, I won't be afraid that I won't have the opportunity to become an immortal. So what if I lose my 50% chance? But I haven't given you any benefits. Even if I did give you some things, they are insignificant. You don't have to do this for me." The old devil felt even more guilty. "On the bigger side, you are my master, so it is natural for me to help you. On the smaller side, you are my brother-in-law, so I will also help you for Dugu's sake." Ning Fan deliberately said those words that were asking for a beating. His figure flashed and left this place. The old devil's guilty and touched face turned pale in an instant. Brother-in-law, brother-in-law. How could he forget that he married Xiao Mei and Ning Fan was going to marry little Dugu? Damn. Thinking about it, he, as the master, was really going to become the brother-in-law of his disciple. Little brat. You want to be a junior, don't you? Motherfucker, why did I accept such a shameless disciple? He even dared to touch the sister of the master's wife. In other words, the old devil was also very shameless. He even dared to touch the sister of his disciple's wife. Ning Fan flew to the peak of a snow mountain and looked at the sky full of snow. His expression gradually calmed down. He would do what he promised. Today, he had done it. Could this mortal bond be considered to be over? His figure flashed and appeared in a snow city. The night was snowing heavily but there was a wine shop that was not closed yet. The lights were dim. Ning Fan walked into the wine shop and asked for a pot of wine. He sat by the window and looked at the wind and snow outside in silence. Aya, isn't this brother Ning? We are really fated to meet each other. I didn't expect to meet you in the sword world. A crazy voice suddenly resounded beside Ning Fan. Ning Fan was stunned. He turned his head and looked at the person beside him. It's you. Why did you come to the sword world? I am escaping. In the past, I sneaked into the sword world while escaping. Shopkeeper, quickly bring me all the good wine in your shop. I want to drink with brother Ning until we are drunk. Chapter 689. At 2 Ning Fan looked at the burly man in front of him thoughtfully. The burly man's clothes were tattered and he had a crazed look on his face. He was someone he knew. Wu Chen, he was the person who helped Ning Fan calculate the whereabouts of his mother in the middle state. He was the person who got Ning Fan's help and escape from the 4 old men. He did not expect to meet Wu Chen in the sword world. It was really a coincidence. Ning Fan did not ask how a peak divine transformation realm cultivator escaped from another world. Everyone had their own secrets. In Ning Fan's opinion, Wu Chen was also a person with secrets. I'm Wu Chen. I'm the lawless Wu. I'm the murderous Chen. Recalling Wu Chen's domineering self-introduction in the past, Ning Fan could not help but feel nostalgic. In the eyes of others, Wu Chen was a madman. However, Ning Fan knew that he was not an ordinary person. Perhaps his cultivation base was not high, but his capabilities were definitely not weak. For example, the extremely mysterious 12 earthly branches divination technique was not something that ordinary people could learn. It has been many years since we last met. Brother Wu, you are still as elegant as ever. Ning Fan cupped his fists and bowed. Ha! Elegant my ass. I don't look elegant at all. You, on the other hand, have shocked the 9 worlds. I really admire you. Hey, why isn't the innkeeper serving the wine? Hurry up and bring me the wine. Wu Chen looked at the innkeeper impatiently. He saw that the innkeeper was picking his teeth with a bamboo stick indifferently. When he saw Wu Chen looking at him, he sneered disapprovingly. This was a city of mortals. The people in the city were all mortals. They did not know how strong Ning Fan was. They did not know that Wu Chen was an old monster at the peak divine transformation realm. The only thing they knew was that Wu Chen was a lunatic. A lunatic who wanted to dine and dash and drink without paying. Wu Chen, you still owe me 3,000 copper coins. I'll serve you the wine when you pay me back. The innkeeper harumphed coldly. Ha! Lunatic who wants to drink when he doesn't have money. I'm dying of laughter. A few customers burst into laughter. Do you think I don't have money? I gambled yesterday and won 5,000 copper coins. Here. Take it. A bunch of fools who are greedy. Wu Chen angrily took the money pouch from his waist and took it. He took out 5 coins and slammed them on the table. Then, he looked at the other customers complacently. The shopkeeper looked as if he had seen something unbelievable. The other customers also opened their mouths so wide that an egg could be stuffed inside. Wu Chen is rich now. Wu Chen actually spent money to buy wine. This can't be real. Hurry up and serve the wine. Serve the good wine. Uncle Wu Chen laughed heartily. The innkeeper immediately ordered the waiter to serve the wine. Ning Fan looked at Wu Chen in surprise and asked with a faint smile. Is this how you have been living all these years? Ning Fan naturally did not expect Wu Chen to be living with mortals instead of cultivators. Moreover, he was repeatedly humiliated by mortals, yet he didn't get angry. His tolerance wasn't something an ordinary cultivator could compare to. Ha, there is the Tao in the wine, there is the truth in the mundane. The marketplace often hides the great Tao. Living here is very comfortable. It can make me forget about the endless slaughter for a while. Fuck. Wu Chen revealed an ancient expression. It was as if he had been through countless seas of blood, and his body and mind were exhausted. It was just a look, but it gave Ning Fan a feeling of empathy. The slaughter in the cultivation world was endless. There is the Tao in the wine, there is the truth in the mundane. Ning Fan looked at the wine jar in front of him and his eyes gradually became blank. He lifted the jar and drank to his heart's content, as if he wanted to merge all the slaughter in this lifetime into the wine, swallow it and forget about it. Brother Ning has a great capacity for liquor. You're indeed my fair-weather friend. Drink, drink, drink. Ning Fan's heart gradually calmed down. It was a peace that he had never felt before. He had avenged his master, found his parents and Ming Kei's matter had temporarily come to an end, all the grudges had been settled. He raised his head and looked out of the window, looking at the falling snow and the boundless night sky. Is it time for me to prepare for my ascension? I wonder if Brother Ning has the intention to ascend? Wu Chen asked with a smile. Oh. Brother Wu is also concerned about ascension. Ning Fan was surprised and then shook his head in a self-mocking manner. He was surprised that Wu Chen was concerned about ascension even though he had yet to attain the void refinement realm. He mocked himself because he had underestimated Wu Chen too much. Who said that spirit-severing realm cultivators couldn't consider ascension? If there are 4 days of quota, spirit-severing realm cultivators can also ascend. For example, In Suchio, Ning Fan wore a nostalgic look on his face and remained silent. Wu Chen chuckled and performed a hand seal. All of a sudden, he said to Ning Fan in a mysterious tone, "Brother Ning, do you know that there is actually an ascension passage hidden in the rain world? Even if you ascend, you won't need to be controlled by any force." "Oh. There's such a passage in the rain world? How did Brother Wu know about it?" Ning Fan looked at Wu Chen doubtfully. "It's a secret. I also have my own secrets that I don't want others to know. Of course, if Brother Ning insists on asking me, I will tell you the truth even if it's difficult for me." "No need. Let's talk about the Ascension Passage. Where is the passage and which upper world is it heading to?" Ning Fan did not have the intention to probe Wu Chen's secrets. Wu Chen's divination technique was amazing. It was not surprising for him to know some secrets that ordinary people did not. Besides, Ning Fan was indebted to Wu Chen for helping him find his mother. From this point of view, Ning Fan was willing to trust Wu Chen. Wu Chen smiled without saying a word. He placed 12 empty wine cups on the table and filled them with wine. Then, he performed the 12 earthly branches technique again. Rays of light suddenly flew out from the 12 empty wine cups. Wu Chen quickly took out a jade slip and kept the rays of light into it. Those rays of light were the information that Wu Chen had obtained from his divination. Meeting each other is fate. It's difficult to separate and meet each other. I'm tired of staying in the sword world. I'll leave now. Brother Ning, see you again. Take this as a parting gift." After giving the jade slip to Ning Fan, Wu Chen carried a wine jar and laughed heartily. He walked out of the tavern and soared into the sky while treading on the wind and snow. The scene shocked everyone in the tavern. Immortal. Immortal Master. Lunatic Wu is actually an immortal master. The innkeeper's limbs went limp. The few customers who had mocked Wu Chen before were also terrified. They were afraid that Wu Chen would take revenge on them. Any immortal master could easily annihilate a city of mortals without even breaking a sweat. The road of killing is long. I'm drunk and wild. If 10 sides betray me, I'll overpower them. Wu Chen's loud and wild voice reverberated in the night for a long time. Ning Fan looked at Wu Chen's disappearing figure and fell into deep thought. When he scanned the jade slip in his hand with his spirit sense, his expression became strange. The passage of ascension is actually there, the Blood Slave Garden. There were 3 passages in the rain world which could lead to the Blood Slave Garden. In the Blood Slave Garden, there was an ancient passage of ascension which could lead to the Eastern Heaven Immortal World. Even if one did not have the quota for ascension and did not become an immortal, as long as one could find that passage, they could ascend. The things in this world are really full of coincidences. I want to go to the Blood Slave Garden and coincidentally, there is an ascension passage in the Blood Slave Garden which leads to the Eastern Heaven Immortal World. Is it the Eastern Heaven? Ning Fan's expression changed. Ascending to the Eastern Heaven was not a bad choice. After all, Lightning Emperor Tai Su's hometown was in the Eastern Heaven. He had promised Tai Su that he would send a 9-revolution pill formula back to his hometown. If his cultivation base was strong enough, he would also need to help him save his hometown. The Eastern Heaven Immortal World was a good place to go. Of course, ascending to the Northern Heaven was also not a bad choice. After all, the foundation of the Black Devil sect was in the Northern Heaven. I should discuss the matter of ascension with my master and listen to his opinion. Ning Fan stood up and walked out of the tavern. With a flash, he disappeared without a trace. The sky was already turning bright. When the people in the tavern saw that Ning Fan was also an immortal master, all of them were dumbfounded. They really did not know if it was a blessing or a curse to see 2 immortal masters in a single day. Ordinary people would probably not be able to see even one immortal master in their entire lives. After the old devil obtained the yin-yang Dao seed, he began to busy himself with planting the Dao fruit. Sowing the Dao seed perfectly was not an easy task. Therefore, Ning Fan would not be able to see the old devil for the time being. During these days, he had been staying in the Ling Palace and secretly sent Su Daozi to investigate the location of the second secret place of the sword ancestor in the heaven border. Su Daozi had once obtained a jade seal magic treasure by chance. From it, he found out that there was a secret place of the sword ancestor in the heaven border which contained a great fortune. That was why he came all the way to the sword world to stand up for the heaven palace. He did not expect that this time, he would directly become Ning Fan's slave. Su Daozi did not know the exact location of that secret place. He only knew that it was somewhere in the northern region of the heaven border. Since he knew that there was a great fortune in that secret place, Ning Fan naturally would not miss it. Su Daozi sent countless experts of the heaven palace to investigate the whereabouts of that secret place. 1 month later, they finally found it. However, no one expected that the secret place was actually a place of great danger. When Su Daozi brought the heavenly sovereign and countless experts into that secret place to investigate, an unforeseen event occurred. There was actually a deadly sword formation at the periphery of the secret place which killed everyone except for Su Daozi. That sword formation was an immortal formation. Just a single formation was enough to kill or injure all the void refinement realm cultivators of the heaven palace. Tian Yi and Yun Shui who went along with them were directly buried under the sword formation. In the Ling Palace, Ning Fan looked at Su Daozi who was kneeling on the ground with blood all over his body and listened to his report with an extremely solemn expression. Ling Huang's eyes were also solemn. Ning Fan did not hide the fact that he was looking for the second secret place of the sword ancestor from him. The secret place was in the sword world. Even if Ning Fan wanted to go there to search for the fortune, he was not prepared to monopolize it. After he leaves, this secret place should still belong to the sword world and exist as the second trial ground of the sword ancestor. An immortal grade sword formation. Just the periphery already has such a powerful formation. If we go to the inner area. Ning Fan, this secret place is too dangerous. Don't go there. Little Dugu said anxiously. When Ning Fan first sent people to search for the secret place, he told Little Dugu that he wanted to bring her along to search for the fortune. The fortune in the sword ancestor's secret place was naturally more beneficial to sword cultivators. Ning Fan was not a true sword cultivator but Little Dugu was. Originally, Ning Fan wanted to use the fortune in this secret place to help Little Dugu break through to the void refinement realm. Now, it seemed like he could not bring her along even if he wanted to go there. Besides, Ning Fan was feeling a little hesitant at the moment. He did not know if he should go to this secret place or not. Su Daozi only knew that there was a great fortune in this secret place. However, he did not see it with his own eyes. He only obtained the information from the magic treasures. Thus, it was hard to distinguish the truth from the lies. If the secret place was not dangerous, Ning Fan would not mind searching for it. Now that he already knew that the secret place was dangerous but he did not know what the fortune was, he would not risk his life by going to an unfamiliar forbidden place unless he was a fool. You're right. It's better if we don't go to this forbidden place. Ning Fan's words made Little Dugu let out a sigh of relief. Of course, she was not willing to see Ning Fan take the risk. Ling Huang looked at the map in his hand and remained silent. His expression became more and more solemn. The location of this secret place seems to be the ruins of Xia country from millions of years ago. It is said that this secret place contains the great secret of becoming an immortal. However, it also contains great danger. All the experts of Xia country once went to this secret place. There were 17 rogue immortals who entered this secret place to search for the method of becoming an immortal. However, all of them died in the secret place overnight. Xia country was destroyed overnight. Xia country was destroyed overnight. Ning Fan's eyes suddenly flashed as if he had thought of something. Xia country was destroyed overnight in order to become an immortal. The sovereign of Xia country was none other than Emperor Xia. Ning Fan had a guess in his mind. Could it be that Emperor Xia was the only survivor among all the experts of Xia country? Xia country was destroyed because it sought to become an immortal. Was that why Emperor Xia hated becoming an immortal so much? Was that the case? The secret place of Xia country contained the great secret of becoming an immortal, but it also caused the deaths of 17 rogue immortals. This secret place must be extremely dangerous. Ning Fan shook his head. Even if it was for the secret of becoming an immortal, he did not want to enter this dangerous place. Thus, he could only give up on this trip to the secret place. The night was slightly cold. Ning Fan stood alone in the courtyard outside the house, bathing in the wind and snow. Gradually, his mind was filled with thoughts. He used the heavenly border as a betrothal gift to ask for Dugu's hand in marriage. However, he was not prepared to consummate the marriage with her at this time. The cultivation method that Dugu cultivated was called the Sword Ancestor Scripture. It was said that she obtained it by chance during one of her travels. It was not advisable for a woman who cultivated this cultivation method to destroy her primordial yin before becoming a sword immortal. Knowing this, Ning Fan naturally would not destroy Dugu's primordial yin body for a moment of desire. However, what surprised Ning Fan was that Dugu's life was just too good. Entering the Sword Ancestor's secret place to cultivate in the snow border actually allowed her to obtain the sword finger technique that was created by the Sword Ancestor. Moreover, she was able to pick up the Sword Ancestor scripture during her travels. Little Dugu's fate seemed to be extremely fated with the sword. Little friend Ning, this old man has something to tell you. Suddenly, a voice with a hint of intimacy came from behind him. Ning Fan turned around and saw Emperor Xia. He cupped his fists and greeted him. Senior Xia, please speak your mind. I heard that you have found the secret place of Xia country. Thus, I want to tell you about the destruction of Xia country. Emperor Xia's golden eyes dimmed with a hint of melancholy, as if he was recalling the scene where his country was destroyed in the past. Senior, are you here to persuade me not to go to that ominous place to seek immortals? Don't worry, Senior. I have already decided not to go to that forbidden place. Emperor Xia interrupted Ning Fan with a bitter smile. No. I came here to beg you to go to that forbidden place. Why? Ning Fan's eyes suddenly turned solemn. With Emperor Xia's strength and personality, he would rarely use the word beg. Since he said beg, what he wanted was certainly not a trivial matter. Even if he begged Ning Fan to enter the forbidden place, his purpose would certainly not be to seek immortals. Emperor Xia himself disdained to become an immortal. If he wanted to, he could break through the life immortal realm and become a true immortal. However, he was unwilling to do so. As for the reason, let me tell you a story. Then, you will know. Emperor Xia's face was filled with reminiscence. He began to organize the memories of millions of years ago. It was a very long memory, but it was so unforgettable. A very long time ago, there was a strong country of sword cultivators in the heavenly border of the sword world. Its name was Xia country. Xia country had been passed down for hundreds of generations and gradually declined. Even so, it was still the strongest force in the sword world. That year, a prince was born in the Xia kingdom. His name was Xia Wuyo. He was an inborn sword cultivator. He was a genius that only appeared once in a million years in Xia country. He took 10 years to reach the harmonious spirit realm, 40 years to reach the core formation realm, 100 years to reach the nascent soul realm, 200 years to reach the divine transformation realm, and another 200 years to reach the void refinement realm. After cultivating for another 1,000 years, he was already a rogue immortal. When the late emperor passed away, Xia Wuyo naturally inherited the position of Emperor Xia. He had a childhood sweetheart named Meng Bingyun. When he was 16 years old, the two of them became Dao companions. Meng Bingyun wasn't beautiful, but she loved Xia Wuyo very much. Xia Wuyo was proud and arrogant. He looked down on Meng Bingyun. In the end, he became obsessed with cultivation. He didn't even look at Meng Bingyun for decades. Speaking of this, Emperor Xia's eyes revealed a hint of sorrow. He closed his eyes painfully. After a long time, he continued. Xia Wuyo only spent 1,500 years to become an itinerant immortal. His aptitude was too high. He was too conceited and too eager to become an immortal. He wanted to become an immortal. He wanted to break through life and seek the truth. He believed that he had the qualifications to become an immortal emperor. However, he was too arrogant. Perhaps it was because of this arrogant heart that made it hard for him to comprehend the true meaning of life and death. That was why he couldn't take the step to become an immortal. He stopped at the itinerant immortal realm for 30,000 years. Meng Bingyun was always ignored by him. However, she didn't complain about it. She accompanied him and guided him. To be honest, although Meng Bingyun wasn't beautiful and her aptitude wasn't as good as Xia Wuyo's, she was still a genius sword cultivator that only appeared once in 100,000 years. During the 30,000 years when Xia Wuyo stopped at the itinerant immortal realm, Meng Bingyun cultivated step by step until she reached the itinerant immortal realm. She was one step ahead of Xia Wuyo and took the step to follow him through life and death. Xia Wuyo felt great humiliation and unwillingness. He boasted that his aptitude far surpassed Meng Bingyun. However, he lost to her on the path to becoming an immortal. How could he remain calm? He became even more estranged from Meng Bingyun. His desire to become an immortal intensified to the point where he almost went berserk. Until one day, a secret place was unearthed in Xia country. It was the Sword Ancestor's secret place. It contained the great secret of becoming an immortal. When the entire Xia country knew that the secret place contained the great secret of becoming an immortal, it caused an uproar. It was especially so for Xia Wuyo. He desired to become an immortal to the point of going crazy. Without any hesitation, he mobilized all the experts in Xia country to search for the great secret of becoming an immortal. On the day when he was about to set off, Meng Bingyun appeared in front of him covered in blood. She told him that the secret place was very dangerous. She personally went to explore the way and almost died in there. She begged Xia Wuyo not to go. Xia Wuyo was deeply touched. He couldn't imagine that Meng Bingyun, who had always been ignored by him, would go to an unfamiliar secret place to explore the way for him. She came back covered in blood. She didn't even have time to heal her injuries. She just wanted to tell him that the secret place was dangerous and he shouldn't go. However, the temptation of becoming an immortal was too great. In the end, Xia Wuyo ignored Meng Bingyun's warning and went his own way. He brought all the experts in Xia country into the secret place. On that day, almost all the experts in Xia country died. No matter how talented Xia Wuyo was, he was still a itinerant immortal after all. He should have died in the secret place. However, when he was about to die, Meng Bingyun saved him. She used her own life to save him. It was a bone-chilling sword lake. Meng Bingyun saved him, but she herself sank into the lake forever. Her final gaze was still looking at Xia Wuyo with infatuation. She softly apologized to him. "I'm sorry, Wuyo. I can't accompany you anymore. I'm sorry." She shouldn't be the one apologizing. Become an immortal. Become an immortal. Xia Wuyo had been seeking immortality for his entire life. What did he get in the end? He didn't even know what he wanted. When he found out and understood what he wanted, he lost it forever. Emperor Xia clenched his fists tightly and closed his eyes. Murky tears flowed down his cheeks. Ning Fan remained silent. He knew that the golden-eyed sword cultivator standing in front of him was the Xia Wuyo in the story. "Lend me a hand. Follow me into the ruins." Emperor Xia suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes were filled with determination. "I don't understand. How can I help Senior with my cultivation base?" Ning Fan sighed. If Emperor Xia goes with him, any danger would no longer be dangerous. However, how could he help Emperor Xia? "Help me enter the Sword Lake. Help me see if I can still find Bingyun's remains at the bottom of the lake." Emperor Xia's eyes were filled with sorrow. "With Senior's cultivation base, you can't enter the Sword Lake by yourself?" Ning Fan was surprised. That sword lake is located in the deepest part of the secret land. It is said that the great secret of becoming an immortal is located at the bottom of the lake. There seems to be a strange law in the sword lake. Anyone can only enter the lake once in their lifetime. If they enter the lake for the second time, they will be turned into ashes by the lake water. Every time I improve my strength, I will try to enter the lake again. However, before I can enter the lake, I will be severely injured and on the verge of death. I can't go into that lake. A sword lake that can only be entered once, huh? This is my first time entering the lake. Of course, I won't be killed by the lake water. However, why is Senior so sure that I can enter the sword lake and return? Perhaps I will also sink to the bottom of the lake forever. Don't worry. Before you enter the lake, I will use all the power of my primordial spirit to help you temporarily raise your cultivation base to the life immortal realm. It will be enough for you to protect yourself. If you help me find Bingyun's remains, I can promise you one thing. Emperor Xia said resolutely. Even if I ask Senior to protect the Rain World for me, will Senior be willing to do that? Ning Fan's eyes lit up. Of course. Emperor Xia's affirmative answer made Ning Fan feel a little tempted. If he has Emperor Xia's help, this secret place would not be too dangerous. If he succeeds in finding Meng Bingyun's remains, Emperor Xia would fulfill his promise and help Ning Fan protect the Rain World. With Emperor Xia around, even if the sect master of the Pill sect comes here personally, only death awaits him. This favor is worth helping. Just as Ning Fan was about to answer, a lady with plum blossoms on her temples quietly walked out from outside the courtyard. Neither Ning Fan nor Emperor Xia noticed her hiding in this place. Little devil Ning, if you insist on going to the secret place of Xia country, I will go with you. If we live, we will live together. If we die, we will die together. Dugu's tone was calm as if she was saying something that was natural. Chapter 690. In the end, he decided to bring little Dugu along. With the Xia Emperor accompanying him on this trip, there would be no danger at all. Emperor Xia had entered the secret grounds of the Xia kingdom by himself countless times, and the greatest danger was only enough to kill an ordinary life immortal. To the Xia Emperor, there was no danger at all. When Ling Huang heard that Ning Fan and Dugu wanted to go to the secret place of Xia country, he naturally dissuaded them with a stern voice. However, when Emperor Xia revealed a trace of his strength in front of Emperor Ling was shocked and no longer had any doubts. Ling Huang had never known that the last emperor of Xia country had actually lived for more than 6 million years. Emperor Xia's strength was too unfathomable. With him accompanying them, Emperor Ling felt at ease. Let's go. The Xia Emperor took a single step forward, and a series of ripples appeared beneath his feet. The ripples reverberated beneath Ning Fan's and Dugu's feet. Immediately, the two of them felt as if they had merged with heaven and earth. In just a breath's time, Emperor Xia had already brought Ning Fan and Dugu from the snow border to the heaven border. What a mysterious speed! Ning Fan's eyes were filled with amazement. This is a technique known as distance contraction. Only a very small number of true immortals can comprehend it. Take this jade slip, it contains this old man's understanding of this technique. If you break through to the true immortal realm one day, you can carefully study this technique. You will definitely gain something. Emperor Xia casually tossed a jade slip to Ning Fan without even turning his head. His eyes were filled with pain as he looked at the bottomless abyss in front of him. This abyss was the entrance to the secret land of China. Ning Fan kept the jade slip. After taking a glance at it, he sighed with emotion and kept the jade slip. The jade slip recorded all of Emperor Xia's experiences in comprehending the earth-shrinking technique. However, the current Ning Fan was still unable to comprehend all of them. Looking at the bottomless abyss, little Dugu did not know why, but her heart ached slightly. She frowned and her face was slightly pale. Ning Fan grabbed little Dugu's soft hand and frowned. Little Duga's hands are so cold. As he channeled his mana into Little Duga's body, the latter's complexion gradually improved. Don't go if you don't feel well, Ning Fan said with concern. No, I'm going. But, can you let go of my hand? Little Duga's face turned slightly red. She wanted to pull her hand out, but her palm was held tightly by Ning Fan. This was her first time holding hands with Ning Fan's. She could clearly feel the warmth of Ning Fan's palm. The warmth and safety made her feel a little nostalgic. Just like this, I'll hold your hand, and you'll follow me. After entering the secret zone, no matter what dangers there are, don't be afraid, I'm here. Even though Emperor Xia was following him, Ning Fan still maintained his full vigilance. One could not be careless at any time. Follow behind me. Don't take a single step. The Xia Emperor reminded him, then leapt into the depths of the earth. Ning Fan temporarily let go of Little Duga's palm. Little Duga could not help but feel a little disappointed. All of a sudden, Little Duga felt her soft waist being embraced by a strong arm. Ning Fan carried Little Duga and leaped straight to the bottom of the abyss. The earth abyss was 10 million zhang deep. Emperor Xia was waiting for them at the bottom of the abyss. He let go of Little Duga's waist and held her hand again. Then, he began to study the environment at the bottom of the abyss. This was an ancient ruin. There was a man-made crystal sun in the sky, making the underground as bright as day. The soil under their feet was very soft and full of weeds. There was a fragrance of grass in the air which was mixed with a little smell of blood. It was very faint, but Ning Fan's perception towards the smell of blood was very sharp. Among the grass, collapsed ancient tablets could be seen from time to time. Each of the tablets only had 2 words written in divine seal script, abandoned sword. The words were carved with a sword. Although it was beautiful, it contained a hidden sharpness. It seemed like it was carved by a woman. It was not hard to imagine that this place was the secret zone of the Sword Ancestor. The words were naturally carved by the Sword Ancestor. However, why did the Sword Ancestor carve the words abandoned sword, and so many of them? Could it be that the words abandoned sword contained some profound sword theory? My sword intent was comprehended in this secret zone. Therefore, it carried a trace of the Sword Ancestor's sword intent. After this grassland, there will be a barren forest. That is where the immortal formation is located. The people you sent died there. As soon as Emperor Xia finished speaking, he walked forward. Ning Fan took a deep look at the ancient tablet and left with Little Dugu. Little Dugu looked at the ancient tablet with a blank expression. Abandoned sword. Abandoned sword, she murmured these 2 words, and her heart ached again. She did not know why she had such a feeling. She just felt that the woman who carved the 2 words must be feeling a lot of pain in her heart. She did not know why she had such a feeling. After walking forward for 10 li, a huge barren forest appeared in front of them. In the barren forest, each of the giant trees was 100,000 zhang tall. They had withered branches and no leaves. On the ground, skeletons that had fallen for many years could be seen everywhere. There were also some newly arrived corpses. The owners of these corpses were all experts of the Heaven Palace. Ning Fan stared at each of the giant trees with a solemn expression. He could tell that one of the tens of giant trees contained a trace of the Sword Ancestor's sword chi which could instantly kill a cultivator. Tens of thousands of giant trees lined up according to the formation, forming an immortal-grade sword formation with terrifying power. The reason why it was an immortal-grade sword formation was because the power of the sword chi would weaken due to the erosion of time. Of course, this formation was set up by the Sword Ancestor. If this formation was at its peak, any true immortal who intrudes into this formation would only face death. Ning Fan naturally would not feel sad when he saw the countless corpses of the experts of the Heaven Palace. The Heaven Palace was originally his enemy. They were just forcefully taken as slaves by him. So what if they died? When Emperor Xia saw the skeletons that had fallen for many years, his eyes were filled with sorrow and guilt. Those people were all the experts of Xia country 6 million years ago. Due to a moment of confusion, Emperor Xia had fallen here. Qi. Qi. As Ning Fan and the others went deeper into the barren forest, the sword formation on all four sides suddenly reacted. Hundreds and thousands of traces of the sword ancestors' sword qi broke out of the formation and charged at Ning Fan and the others. Without saying anything, Ning Fan pulled little Dugu behind him, looking like he was ready to attack at any time. His eyes were extremely solemn. There were at least 1,200 traces of the sword ancestors' sword qi in this place. Each of them could instantly kill a cultivator. If one is attacked by 1,200 traces of sword qi at the same time, even an ordinary life immortal realm cultivator would be severely injured. Collect. Emperor Xia made a grabbing motion and all 1,200 traces of sword qi were absorbed into his palm. He condensed his magic power and all the sword qi merged into one, forming a golden sword light. When it condensed again, the golden sword light turned into a small golden sword. This item can be used for self-defense. Emperor Xia passed the small golden sword to Ning Fan and continued advancing without saying anything else. Ning Fan received the small golden sword. When he sensed the vast sword qi contained in it, his expression changed. This small sword was condensed from sword qi. Once it is used, it could turn into 1,200 traces of the sword ancestors' sword qi and deal a heavy blow to a life immortal realm cultivator. After keeping the small golden sword, Ning Fan held little Dugu's hand and followed closely behind Emperor Xia. Emperor Xia stopped in front of the largest tree in the barren forest and pointed his finger at it. A golden light flashed. All of a sudden, the giant tree in front of him turned into ashes and dissipated. At the next moment, all the trees in the entire barren forest turned into ashes and disappeared. After doing all this, Emperor Xia raised his hand and clawed at the ground. A sword-shaped golden stone was pulled out from the ground and he gave it to little Dugu. The immortal grade sword formation has been destroyed. This is a sword stone that was condensed from the power of the sword formation. It can greatly increase a sword cultivator's cultivation base. A piece of sword stone is enough for you to directly break through to the void glimpse stage. Little Dugu looked at Ning Fan. When she saw Ning Fan nod, she kept the sword stone. After we pass the barren forest, it will be very dangerous. Of course, the danger is only for you guys. Follow me closely. Don't leave me by even half a step. After passing through the barren forest, there were many ancient tombs. The air was filled with a gloomy mist. Within the mist, the sound of bells could be heard from afar. An extremely dangerous feeling immediately rose in Ning Fan's heart. Little Dugu, on the other hand, was absent-minded. She did not notice the danger in this place. She quietly looked at the large barren graves without saying a word. Her heart felt a slight pain again. In her mind, scenes of flesh and blood flying everywhere unconsciously appeared. It hurts. She held her head with one of her hands and bit her lips with her pearly white teeth. Her eyes were filled with pain and she almost fell. Ning Fan did not care about the strange ringing of the bells. He hurriedly held little Dugu and continuously transferred traces of magic power into her body. What's wrong? Ning Fan's face was filled with worry. It's nothing. It's just a little uncomfortable. I feel much better now. With Ning Fan's help, little Dugu's complexion gradually improved. The ringing of the bells in the surroundings was getting closer and closer. In the gloomy mist, 4 giant ghosts with 8th break realm cultivation base were carrying a huge iron palanquin that was covered with chains. They were walking towards them with dense killing intent. On the gigantic iron palanquin, there was a ghost with a green face and fangs. He was wearing a bright red robe and his cultivation base was at the rogue immortal realm. However, the strength of his physical body was comparable to a life immortal realm expert. Gradually, the 2nd, 3rd and 4th iron palanquin appeared in the thick mist. There were 4 iron palanquins, 16 giant ghosts with 8th break realm cultivation base and 4 ghosts with immortal bodies. Ning Fan's eyes widened. The 8th break realm giant ghosts were still manageable, but 4 ghosts with immortal bodies were definitely not something he could defeat. The strength of a single punch from these 4 ghosts was comparable to a strike from a life immortal realm expert. Roar! The iron palanquin landed on the ground. 16 giant ghosts with 8th break realm cultivation base strode towards them. Every step they took made the ground shake. The eyes of the 4 ghosts with immortal bodies were blank. 2 of them raised their fingers and pressed down. 2 rays of sword light shot out from their fingers and attacked Emperor Xia. The other 2 ghosts vanished without a trace. In the next moment, they appeared on the left and right of Ning Fan and Little Dugu. Their ghost claws directly grabbed at Ning Fan and Little Dugu. The strength of a casual grab was enough to easily tear a rogue immortal realm expert into pieces. Get lost! Emperor Xia's eyes turned cold. He shouted and his voice immediately turned into invisible sword light, slashing at the 20 ghosts. In just an instant, all 16 giant ghosts were dismembered into thousands of pieces. As for the 4 ghosts with immortal bodies, they were directly killed by the sound wave swords. Sword word technique. Ning Fan's eyes widened. He did not expect that the sword word technique really existed. It seemed like Teng Xianro was very interested in the sword word technique. If he could obtain this technique and give it to her, it would be a wonderful thing. Ning Fan then looked at the 20 ghosts that were instantly killed by Emperor Xia. As soon as they fell to the ground, they immediately turned into broken ancient swords. Their spiritual light dimmed and their sword intent dissipated. These are sword ghosts. When the sword master dies, the sword spirit dies. When the sword spirit becomes a ghost, it becomes a sword ghost. When I was young, I almost died in the hands of the sword ghosts in this place. As soon as he finished speaking, Emperor Xia took out a jade slip from his storage pouch and gave it to Ning Fan. Ning Fan took a look at the jade slip and found out that it actually recorded the cultivation method of the sword word technique. The power of the sword word technique isn't strong. However, it contains a trace of the great ability of word compliance law. The 3 great realms of the true immortal realm are Duzhen, shedding void, and thought-breaking realm. The 2 realms of thought's fragmentation are the speech realm and the thought realm. Words are the law enforcement realm and the Tao is born with a thought. This is the key to breaking through the thought's fragmentation realm. This technique isn't strong, but it might help you comprehend the law enforcement realm earlier. As soon as Emperor Xia finished speaking, he moved forward again. Ning Fan let out a soft sigh. Along the way, Emperor Xia had been continuously giving him opportunities. All he wanted was for his help. After keeping the jade slip, Ning Fan held Dugu's hand and followed behind Emperor Xia. Inwardly, he had already made up his mind to help Emperor Xia find Meng Bingyun's remains. Each of the traps and formations was easily broken by Emperor Xia. Each of the powerful sword ghosts was destroyed by Emperor Xia's finger. He had been to this place many times. Ever since Meng Bingyun passed away, he had forced his way into the forbidden place time and time again. In the beginning, his cultivation base was insufficient and he was no match for the sword ghosts. Every time he came, he would return in failure. Later on, he thoroughly comprehended life and death and became strong enough to fight against the sword ghosts. However, he could no longer enter the sword lake. 6 million years had passed and his strength was already comparable to a true immortal realm expert. He could easily kill some living beings and undead things in this place, but he could not enter the sword lake. The lake water seemed to be mocking him. Once you lose something, you can never get it back. We're here. After crossing a tall mountain, there was a calm lake behind it. The lake was surrounded by a circle of strange stones. Each of the stones had an ancient sword inserted into them. The lake water was rippling and entering the lake. It seemed ordinary, but Ning Fan sensed a trace of danger from it. Ning Fan's eyes flashed. He casually picked up a fallen leaf from the ground and threw it into the lake. The fallen leaf sank into the lake and turned into ice. Even a fallen leaf can't float. Ning Fan frowned. With his minor 5 elements physique, it was not difficult for him to defend against the ice power of the lake. However, with his current cultivation base, if he enters the lake, he would probably sink forever like a fallen leaf and would never be able to float to the surface again. Perhaps only Life Immortal Realm experts could move freely in this lake. Of course, every Life Immortal Realm expert only had one chance to enter the lake. If the rules of the lake did not allow them to enter the lake for the second time, they would certainly die. This is the Sword Lake, also known as the Heart-Seeking Sword Lake. It is said that the water of this lake can reflect the reflection of one's previous life. However, that reflection can only be seen by oneself. Others can't see it. As soon as Emperor Xia finished speaking, Ning Fan and little Dugu approached the lake curiously and lowered their heads to look at the reflection in the lake. Ning Fan's reflection in the lake was a butterfly. However, it was not just one but hundreds and thousands of butterflies. He had reincarnated countless times and each of his lives was a butterfly. He used the life of a butterfly to exchange for the life of a human in this life. Can you see your previous life? Ning Fan shifted his gaze and looked at little Dugu. At this moment, little Dugu was looking at the reflection in the lake and tears kept flowing down her cheeks. What did she see? Ning Fan did not know. Only little Dugu knew. Don't cry. I'm here. Ning Fan did not know what little Dugu saw but he did not ask. He just hugged little Dugu's slightly trembling body tightly in his arms, trying to warm her heart with his body heat. Little devil Ning, you were a butterfly in your previous life, right? Little Dugu asked in a low voice. Yes. I see. I abandoned my sword and gave up my life of slaughter in exchange for reuniting with you in this life. It's worth it. She did not say much but said something that Ning Fan could not understand. Although he could not understand it, Ning Fan's heart was touched for no reason. He faintly felt that he owed little Dugu too much. What did you see? Ning Fan asked in a tender tone. Don't ask, never know. Little Dugu raised her tear-stained smiling face. Ning Fan wanted to use the mind-reading technique to see what little Dugu saw. He owed little Dugu in his previous life, right? He wanted to see it clearly. Unfortunately, there was an exceedingly powerful force inside Dugu's body that was protecting her, causing him to be unable to see through her thoughts. Don't ask, never know, that's good. Little Dugu reached out her hand and gently stroked the contours of Ning Fan's face with gratitude and satisfaction. This was the first time she took the initiative to touch Ning Fan. There seemed to be something else in her eyes. It was nostalgia. Ning Fan felt a sudden pain in his heart and hugged little Dugu tightly in his arms. Damn it! What did this woman see? Why did she cry? There was no answer. If she did not say it, she would not say it for the rest of her life. Perhaps, Ning Fan could only find the answer himself. Perhaps, he would not find it in his entire life. Cough cough. Emperor Xia coughed awkwardly. He was still here and this young couple was hugging each other. How could they forget themselves? Little Dugu blushed and wiped her tears on Ning Fan's chest without caring about her image. She gently pushed Ning Fan away and tidied her hair. It's time for you to help Senior Xia. You're right, madam. Your husband has forgotten that I still have important matters to attend to. Ning Fan teased. Looking at little Dugu's angry expression, his heart gradually calmed down. He would naturally know the answer when his cultivation base was strong enough in the future. The mysteries of samsara encompassed all living beings. Naturally, he could peek into the past and present lives. Senior, are you going to transfer the power of your primordial spirit to me now? Ning Fan asked. With his cultivation base, it was easy for him to enter the Sword Lake but it was impossible for him to get out. Only when Emperor Xia used all his strength to help him temporarily attain the life immortal realm would he have the confidence to go back and forth. Alright. I will draw out the power of my primordial spirit and lend it to you temporarily. Come closer. Emperor Xia raised his hand and pointed at the top of Ning Fan's head. He closed his eyes and transferred the power of his primordial spirit into Ning Fan's body. His chi rapidly weakened. Even though he was still a rogue immortal, he was not as strong as before. On the other hand, Ning Fan's chi continued to rise. 7th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm, 8th heavenly layer, 9th heavenly layer. Peak life immortal realm. Life immortal realm was divided into human profound ghost realm and profound ghost realm. Ning Fan's current cultivation base was an early human profound life immortal realm. Feeling the vast magic power in his body, Ning Fan's eyes flashed, but he was not too shocked. He was also able to control the magic power in his body that had skyrocketed without any discomfort. He had temporarily possessed the magic power of an immortal emperor, so a life immortal was naturally not worth mentioning. Oh. Little friend, you can actually control the magic power of a life immortal realm expert so easily? Emperor Xia's face was as pale as a piece of paper. His eyes were slightly shocked. Ning Fan's capabilities were much greater than what he had expected. Currently, Emperor Xia had lent all the power of his primordial spirit to Ning Fan. His body was extremely weak. Perhaps even an 8-break realm cultivator might not be able to defeat him. Ning Fan sighed. He turned around and walked towards the Sword Lake. Just as he was about to jump into the lake, little Dugu pulled his arm. Bring me with you. Listen to me. The Sword Lake is extremely dangerous. If anything goes wrong, before Ning Fan could finish his words, he was interrupted by Dugu Jirun. Trust me. I will be fine. I can even help you. Trust me. Trust me. I can come and go freely in this Sword Lake. I can protect you, trust me. Trust me. Ning Fan remained silent for a while. Then, he held little Dugu's arm and jumped into the lake. He had decided to trust her. If she is really in danger, he would protect her even if he has to risk his life. You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.